Yes, a Ferrari driver is in pole position. No, not him. It's him. Rubens Barrichello beat the rain and his teammate to take his first pole position in nearly 2 years. Michael Schumacher dominated all 4 practice sessions, but found the rain came too quickly to allow him another shot at pole, so he had to settle for second. Brother Ralph in the Williams is in third, another to dodge the rain to great effect. David Coulthard is happy with fourth, but not with the chasm between his car and the Ferraris. Teammate Kimi Räikkönen proved he's a great young talent by taking 5th spot. And Juan Pablo Montoya, another who had problems, rounds off the top 6. Jarno Trulli leads the Renault Challenge and Giancarlo Fisichella the Jordan Threat. And he will be joined by new boy Takuma Sato, who didn't reach the required qualifying time when a combination of car failure and rain conspired against him. Even so, the stewards have allowed him in. It's race 1 of the 2002 season. Can anyone stop the Ferraris? Good morning. Either you have a great alarm clock or you had a good night out last night. But you're here and we're glad you are. It's the first race of 2002. It's the Foster's Australian Grand Prix. The talking stops right now. Well, not quite, because I'm joined by Damon Hill and Perry McCarthy, and they've usually got something to say. Damon, just how important is it to get a good result away early?
Well, it's lovely if you can get a win under your belt if you're out to fight for the championship, but it's not the end of the world if you don't. And the first race is a little bit like you get a chance to bet everything you like on the first race, because there are 16 others after that.
Perry, how prepared are they? Are some of them still testing effectively?
Yeah, there's different levels. I mean, obviously you can look at Ferrari and they've got all the data from last year's car because that's the car they're using. So you like to think that they're probably the best prepared, and that's been shown in qualifying. The others are at different stages. They're all saying that they've got things to learn. They all believe they've got potential, and to whatever degree that's coming across now or in the future, we're going to start finding out this afternoon. Anyone who's not a Ferrari fan will be hoping for an outside bet to come in here, but how likely is that outside bet?
I'd say there's an outside bet on Ralf Schumacher. Are you saying that maybe Rubens is the outside bet here? I mean, personally, I think that Michael is going to, in the race, I think Michael will overwhelm Rubens. I think it's unlikely that Rubens will be able to keep the pressure from Michael away for an entire race, but that's the great thing. We don't know. We're going to find out.
Won't stop me asking you, though, because he's on pole, Barrichello, first time in 2 years. Will there be a little noise in his ear at some stage if he's still ahead coming up to the final corner?
But you mean like the team manager?
For the championship, Rubens.
Yeah, no, I can't see Ferrari bringing team orders into play in the first race. Honestly, I really can't. I think Michael will take care of that long before that arises, assuming both cars are still running.
I disagree a little bit. I think that the whole point of Ferrari being here is to help Michael Schumacher add to their legend and add to his legend, and for Michael Schumacher to win 5 World Championships and 3 consecutive World Championships, which is his goal this year, is the objective, and the publicity and everything that comes from that will be enormous and enormously valuable. And unfortunately, Rubens doesn't enter into that equation. He's there to help Michael achieve that and to help Ferrari achieve that.
How dispiriting is it for the rest of the grid then to see Ferrari turn up with last year's car and book the front row?
Well, I saw one of them building a scaffold in the pit lane, but yeah, it's got to be a bit annoying, hasn't it? You know, they've come along with their last year's car, and everybody's hoping that their new breed, their new design is going to be the way forward. And then you see Ferrari still turn up and dominate. The only thing they can say, going back to their R&D stuff, the research and development, their position now is that with their new cars, the other teams, such as Williams, McLaren, they believe there's a lot more potential in that, even if it's not showing here in Australia.
Well, this Australian race is Jacques Villeneuve's 100th Grand Prix. That's why we sent Bruce Jones out in search of him.
Jacques, the Australian Grand Prix is going to be your 100th Grand Prix. Is that a special milestone for you?
I only knew it was my 100th because people have been saying it since I got here. I never actually knew about that, so 200 would be more special.
Now, when you started, this was where you had your debut, and you put it on pole position. Was that one of the most special races you've ever had, or do other ones stand out for you?
Well, no, that was a special race. There's been other races standing out more because of fighting on the track, but that was the right way to start in Formula One.
But looking back over the seasons, you started here in 1996. What year was your favourite year? Presumably 1997 when you were world champion, or is that not the case?
Yeah, as a whole season, 97 was definitely my favourite.
Here in Melbourne, is this a track you like particularly? Some people say it's not as grand a track as somewhere like Suzuka or Spa-Francorchamps. Do you agree with them?
No, it's one of the good tracks. It's one of the fun tracks to drive on. So it's really enjoyable. It's a long lap and it's a difficult lap.
Now, looking ahead to this season with BAR, you joined the team as world champion and you, well, won champion 1 year back. Your hopes haven't been met so far in winning races with BAR. Third place, your best position. What hopes do you have for this season?
Oh, well, the hopes are, of course, to start winning, but it doesn't look like we have the package at the moment, but everybody is working hard to get there.
And if you could put your finger on what would be your strongest point in the makeup of the car, the tyres, the engine, what would you say that would be for this year?
Well, tire-wise, half the field has got the same tires, so it's not something you have an advantage or disadvantage of compared to the Ferraris anyway. We're on the same tires. This year, the chassis has been improved. The mechanical side of the chassis has been improved.
We've just finished qualifying. You're 13th on the grid for tomorrow's race, so just at the halfway point, right with your teammate Olivier Panis. It was a strange session because there was rain, there was dry, there was rain again. What do you think the best you can do in tomorrow's race will be?
Well, the car was today should have been 7th or 8th. We really had a bad qualifying session. We changed the setup just before getting into quali, and it didn't work. And by the time we changed it back, it started raining. So we didn't get anything out of the car today. We'll be a lot better in the race.
Jacques, thank you very much for talking to us, and best luck for the next 100 Grand Prix in your career.
Thank you.
Well, Jacques Villeneuve, of course, a former teammate of yours, he must be more than a little frustrated at the way things have gone with BAR.
He looked a little bit tired being asked about his 100th Grand Prix there, didn't he? Yeah, Jacques, he's really taken a step backwards, obviously, with the team he's gone for with BAR. And he needs to be at the front to get the best out of him. You know, it's hard to motivate yourself when you are a winner like he is. He's won races over in America. He's won the championship over in America, and he's won a Formula One World Championship. And he wants to be up the front. And he can't. He knows that it's a long, hard road from where he is to get a new team up to, you know, battling for championships. And I wonder how long he'll be able to keep that up.
Does he have options? Could he go somewhere else? Would he want to go somewhere else?
I'm sure there'd be many teams that would like to see him in their car, but it's not so open at the front. I think McLaren is not an option for him. He's just not that kind of personality that suits McLaren. I think that there's little chance of him going there. And Ferrari, as long as Michael's there, that's a closed door. So there are not that many options. Williams, I think, would have him back, but they're very happy with their driver pairing they have.
No one happy, of course, as we heard during that interview, with the weather thus far in Australia. Qualifying yesterday interrupted by rain and red flags, but all the meaningful action took place in one 5-minute burst. John Watson and Ben Edwards are your commentators. The weather, but they all had the same weather, and the top 6 ended up as the top 6.
And it was one of those sessions where you know they put in a lot of activity in the early part of the session, thinking it was going to rain, and you can never come away from those sessions, much as you'd like to, come away from those sessions and sort of say I got unlucky, because everyone had the same chance at the start, and Rubens did a great job.
The leading 3 teams where we expect them to be, but Jarno Trulli, that's not bad, is it? 7th?
It's good. I mean, Jarno's renowned for his qualifying prowess, but unfortunately Jordan need to make that stick really into a race result, and they need to do that soon. They've had a pretty unlucky time over qualifying so far. The old luck of the Irish seems to have definitely deserted them, and they need something to come back. But Takuma Sato should be great value coming through from the back, because I think he's going to be on a mission, that boy.
Well, in the sessions we've seen thus far, he's been very entertaining. I know John Watson's been pretty excited by him. Felipe Massa as well, another young prospect who appears to be grabbing the headlines early doors.
I only heard a little bit about this guy from Jean Lacey earlier this year, and I don't really know anything about him, but I have to say he was described by Jean as being mad, bad and dangerous or something like that. And
it's a bit scary coming from
Jean,
isn't it?
so that's exactly what I said. I said coming from you, that's saying something. If John Lacey thinks he's that, then he really has to be exciting, and he's done a great job, you know, out-qualifying his teammate, not much experience, and straight in there with a good qualifying performance. So be interested to see Felipe Massa through the rest of the season.
All right, Peter Windsor is our roving reporter, running up and down the pit lane on our behalf. He joins us now. Well, what's the latest news, Peter?
Well, the latest news is that the Ferrari mechanics have had a first-hand view of what really amounts to Oz aerobics meets Formula One. The grid girls have been putting on a great show here. But on a more serious note, it's not raining, I'm very pleased to say. It's been overcast, but it's dry right now. That's a problem, of course, for the strategists, because with this changeable weather, there is an argument for perhaps putting a relatively light load of fuel on the car on the basis that you might have to stop for wet tyres, in which case it would be a two-stop strategy. Or equally, do you make a commitment to what is the quicker, dry setup, which looks to be a one-stop strategy? So lots of coins up in the air at the moment. Great atmosphere. The Australians really are a master of the great sporting occasion.
Peter, part of your job this weekend at least has been weather forecaster. The latest news then, it looks dry at the moment.
Well, no better person to speak about that than Patrick Head, and he said this morning very clearly that it was going to be a dry race, so I think we better take his word for that.
Well, that's interesting. Well, what does Patrick know about the weather then? Suddenly, so I seem to remember a few races in the past when Williams got it horribly wrong with choice of tyres at the start of a race.
Well, I couldn't possibly comment about that, Damon. But of course, Patrick, I think, is using the latest in technology from all around the world. He's very good at that sort of thing. And anyway, he's promised us a dry race, so we'll wait and see.
Peter, thanks very much. We'll be joining you again very shortly, I have no doubt. By the way, if you wish to switch to the Super Channel now, you can join the commentary of John Watson and Ben Edwards. In the meantime, if you stay with this channel, there's every chance you might come by a new car. Is the old jalopy letting you down a bit? No problem. We've got just the thing for a trip. Unbelievable, and you're looking at it right now.
To see, and we'll have a fine, trouble-free and dry Grand Prix here. One that's going to be very interesting because nobody really, I think, is fully confident that they've got the definitive setup for this afternoon's 58-lap Grand Prix.
Well, we're looking at the time clicking down at the top of the screen, and that is until the start of the race itself. So there's some time to go before we see the cars actually taking the start, but they'll be coming out and doing their laps just to make sure the cars are running right and coming back into the pits and then finally making their way onto the grid. The build-up begins now, and we can just set the scene and get ourselves used to what we're likely to see throughout the 2002 season. Already Ferrari up front throughout the sessions this weekend, but Rubens Barrichello taking that pole position by the narrowest of margins, 0.005 of a second from the 4-time world champion Michael Schumacher, and he'll be doing his utmost to do something about that this afternoon. Well, there we are, back to the grid area once again. The flags being held on the grid positions for the moment. They'll be brought back around and into the pit soon before we see the cars coming out. It's the 6th running of the event here in Melbourne. 3 times Ferrari have won, and those have been the last 3 years. Eddie Irvine winning back in 1999, but Michael Schumacher has been the winner here the last 2 years, and of course Johnny's gone on to win those 2 championships.
Indeed he has. There have been back-to-back championships, and Michael Schumacher, I'm not sure he's going to make it 3 in a row here this afternoon. He seemed very agitated, not at all happy with what had taken place for his morning warm-up. He jumped from race car to spare car, backwards and forwards. He came into the pits, and Rubens Barrichello, his car was sort of half out of the garage, half in the garage, and Michael sort of gave a very, well, I thought, unfriendly wave of his hand, as if to say, what are you doing? Get out of my way. This is my team. You're just here to make up the numbers. So I'm not convinced that Michael Schumacher is totally comfortable. I think the fundamental problem, Ben, is that he got blown away by 0.005 of a second. It doesn't matter. It's his teammate who's on pole position, and Michael, I think, was not at all happy. Louis showed like he was yesterday. I think deep down he was very, very dissatisfied.
A slight change in the garments that people are wearing at Melbourne this year. Normally it's t-shirts and sunscreen. As you can see for yourselves, it's more like a British summer in terms of cloud and cold temperatures. And we've got the jackets, we've got the jumpers, we've got the caps and umbrellas all prepared for the weather that we've seen. A quick look at the starting grid. We'll be running through this several times, of course, but the two Ferraris up front. Schumacher, Ralph, that is, in third place, ahead of David Coulthard in the McLaren Mercedes. His new teammate, Kimi Raikkonen, just behind him. Then Juan Pablo Montoya, disappointed. He did get held up by Giancarlo Fisichella, has ended up 6th fastest. Trulli and Fisichella make up the 4th row. Then Massa and Heidfeld in their Saubers. Jenson Button in the Renault ahead of Olivier Panis in 12th place. Jenson didn't have a particularly good warm-up this morning. They had a problem with the car and he only went out for a few laps. The second half of the grid, Jacques Villeneuve, who went so well here on his first appearance in 1996. Almost won the race, but just had to give best to Damon Hill towards the end of the race. Toyota making their debut this weekend. There's Salo, McNish in 16th place, Frentzen in between the two of them. Then Bernoldi, Webber making his debut as well for the Minardi team, so some Australian interest. And then Irvine, De La Rosa, the two Jags right at the back, and only 2 cars slower than them. Only 1 car actually slower in time, really. That was Alex Young. Takuma Sato, the Japanese driver, will be starting at the back because he didn't set a representative time in qualifying.
No. I think he looks like a confident kid, and I hesitate to call him a kid. I mean, 20 years old is a young man, really, but he...
As cool as you like, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very cool.
We're in the Minardi pit, and it's a huge day for Mark Webber. He's making his debut in front of his home crowd. He must be desperately hoping, well, just to finish the race, I presume.
And of course, Paul Stoddart, who owns the team, is Australian. I was reading the quotes after qualifying, and he mentioned Australia about 4 times in the quote. And as Peter Windsor pointed out a few times there, he's very proud of his own country, and good reason to be. So a big day for them. And I'd like to see Mark Webber doing well. He's got a lucky break there and getting a drive in Formula 1, and he's going to make the most of it. He's, as we mentioned before, an extremely fit guy. And
Alan McNish.
And again, Alan McNish. We talked about him yesterday in qualifying. He's paid his dues and he's there to do a job, and he's very professional.
It's very short as well, actually.
I actually wondered when he was doing the junior formulas actually whether he was too small and whether he'd be strong enough to drive to be. But he's undoubtedly, built up some muscle since the early days. But he used to be even smaller than that.
We've been talking about Massa and Sauber, of course. They had a few problems in warm-up earlier on. Peter Windsor has more detail on that.
Indeed, Matt, yes, they had 2 problems this morning, both on Felipe Massa's car. He stopped out on, he slowed down on the circuit and managed to make it back to the garage, but at the time they didn't know what the problem was. There are a few smiles now. They say yes, it was a software glitch, and they think they got the problem licked. Nick Heidfeld had 2 fuel pressure problems on Friday, so everybody at Sauber keeping their fingers crossed.
Keep your head down, Peter, because I can see on track A a couple of fighter planes coming across the sky, and they should be going over your head right now.
Copy you now, Damon. Yeah, we're heading for cover.
And there's Massa.
This is all part of this.
Go ahead, Peter. What were you going to say?
I was going to say it's all part of this fantastic presentation the Australians put on. I don't think there's a Grand Prix like this anywhere. Apart from the flying display, apart from the grid girls, apart from the music and the parties, they've had non-stop supporting races going on since Thursday. They even had a dog race, and I mean that seriously. Everybody could bring their pooch along and do a lap of the circuit with their favourite pet.
So we've been plagued with different weather conditions. What's it looking like at the moment, Peter?
Bit sticky, bit grey, but it looks as if it's going to be dry. Tempting fate to say that, probably, but bit of a westerly wind blowing, which is probably a good thing. And the forecast, as I say, is for it to be dry now.
Peter, we read a while ago, I see you wearing red overalls, but I know you're an old Williams man in actual fact, if not actually the team manager at one point. But I hope you haven't changed your allegiance there. But you mentioned Patrick Head, and I read some pretty outrageous, typical Patrick Head statements in the reports the other day he'd made about to do with the single engine rule or something that's coming in next year, and he was sort of saying that it's all bent in favour of other teams. Has he come forward any more on that?
Well, the feeling is actually that the movement there has been initiated by BMW because they've got a very good engine, and when you've got a good engine, you don't need to do quite as much development, you don't need to blow up quite as many engines, and therefore it would suit them in a way to limit the number of engines. All the Mercedes and BMW top brass sitting down around a table trying to discuss this problem, and there certainly is a big move in Formula One to try to keep the costs down, and limiting the mileage on engines in the Grand Prix weekend is certainly one of the proposals.
Peter, I just interrupt at this point to say that whilst you were interrupted by a couple of jet planes, our coverage totally uninterrupted. We go through to the race and beyond without a single break. At least that's the plan, Damon. Now then, Mark Webber.
There he is. I mean, you talk about being nervous or what have you and being apprehensive, but I mean, actually it's excitement. That's the feeling, and this is the moment that Mark Webber's been waiting for as long as he can remember. His first Grand Prix, and very exciting to kick off in your home country.
Well, I've been talking about Mark's career the last couple of days, and even back when he was 20 years old, he was with the Mercedes Works team in the World Championship for sports cars. And then after a couple of years went over to, look, there's an old pal of ours, that's Andrew Gilbert-Scott there. Raced against him in Formula Ford, Takuma Sato's manager. You see him in the background?
Yeah.
But anyway, so back to Mark Webber, and he went into Formula 3000. Last year, Mark came second in the International Formula 3000 Championship to Britain's Justin Wilson. Justin, unfortunately, not out on the track in Formula One where the boy deserves to be this year, but at least Mark's there. And that's great. So he's served his time. He knows his way around. He's used to high-pressure situations. And I asked him about track manners earlier on because when Damon and I were in Formula 3000, it could get quite rough. And I was wondering exactly how that compared to Grand Prix for him nowadays.
They're a bit rough on you, Barry.
Not me. I was thinking about you, you poor old dear.
Interesting to see those email questions coming through. Jordan asked who they thought was the best young driver, and they nominated their own man.
Wasn't me then.
And not you either, Perry. Ferrari asked the same question, said Massa, again his name cropping up again, and Webber.
Well, yeah, we'll see. It's going to be difficult in the Minardi to show exactly what you're capable of, but it's not impossible to show you can do something and do a good job.
New drivers include Alan McNish. He's in a completely new team, Toyota, but they appear to have done their groundwork.
I think they've been very impressive so far. They've put in some pretty quick section times and top speeds and things like that. Well, they wouldn't be able to do that without a good engine. There's some of the strange things that go on in Australia. As you can see, a couple of guys painted as checkered flags.
Out there. It's taken a while to reach, but it's terrible consequences.
That's what happens when you drink too much beer. It affects your skin.
Definitely fueled by the sponsor.
And Track B, we've got a fashion show going on down by the lake while we wait for the cars to come out of their garages, which they'll be doing in about 5 minutes' time.
So you reckon Ralph could be the dark horse on this then, Damon?
I think for the race, he's in a good position. I think the first race tends to throw up an odd result, and he's qualified well. Ferrari have been strong all weekend, and up to through qualifying and what have you. So it could not go their way. I wouldn't say he's a favourite, Ralph, but he's an outside favourite, if that makes sense.
He spotted an old mate of yours just a little while ago, and Peter Windsor is with him now. Andrew Gilbert-Scott.
Andrew, you just spotted on camera by Perry McCarthy and Damon Hill. Say hello to them.
Perry, Damon, how you doing?
And you're here with Takuma Sato, of course. Tell us a little bit about this guy.
Yeah, he's very good. Obviously, I've been with him now for a few years, and massive talent. Really is exciting to watch. I think he'll be good for Formula One as well, because he is exciting, good fun, and slightly blows the image of probably most of perceptions of Japanese drivers.
And how much have you been able to teach him how to drive, Andrew?
Oh, everything. Everything he knows, obviously. No, I mean, he was a natural talent. I could see that when I first went to see him, before I even met him. You could see the actual driving talent was there. But one of his major skills has been his communication, and I think also, hopefully, I've been able to help with that. And the way he works with all the engineers, which is critical nowadays, again, I think is putting him in a very strong position.
And he's under a lot of pressure yesterday afternoon. He kept very, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the hardest days, I think, just to come in and try and learn it. But we'd been through it all with the Formula 3, and then he really had to win each race. So there's not too much expectation at the moment. But he's a very cool dude, really.
Well, we'll enjoy watching him. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot.
The guy Peter's just been interviewing was, in my opinion, one of our best racing drivers from our era. He was world champion in Formula 4, won the festival, went on to Formula 3 with a limited budget, did really well there. In Formula 3000, he was a very, very quick driver, very determined guy, but it never gelled, it never stayed together for him. But Andrew Gilbert-Scott was, yeah, bloody handy, wasn't he?
He went to Japan, didn't he, Perry, and raced a lot in Japan.
Yeah.
And that's obviously where he's become able to help Sato and make his Japanese connections.
Yeah.
But the points he made about Takuma Sato being good at communicating, he's got very good English, which is a first really for a lot of Japanese drivers. And you know, it's been a struggle for Japanese drivers to find their feet, and I think Sato seems to be a little bit more of a European sensibility, which will help him.
Watch your mirrors.
Hearing in on the Minardi team radio.
Yes, one of the drivers being advised to watch his mirrors. At this stage of the game, I'd say it's not that important. They're just going onto the grid.
Just practicing. Nothing like a warm-up lap, is there?
Maybe wash your mirrors.
Yes.
That was Sato.
Maybe he's just trying to remind him that he has mirrors on the car, and to try and spot them now.
What if Jacques frequency?
And I think even in a Minardi, actually using mirrors only comes in to really into its own after about lap 10 when they're about to be lapped.
It's one of the more interesting features, isn't it? The listening in on the team radio. The drivers and the teams know they're being listened in on, but sometimes it doesn't seem to matter too much.
No, they probably forget, actually. Well, I'm looking forward to the moment where they do forget completely that they're being broadcast and we get some juicy radio communications.
Normally be straight after somebody's been punted into the wall. You can rely on a few choice words then.
Yes, I can imagine you would do. I can remember certainly...
I can remember saying them about you once you punted me off.
Yes. Well, we won't go into that now.
Why not?
All the cars, what they're doing now, obviously, is not only are they've got a few moments, they've got 15 minutes between the track being opened or the pit lane being opened, when they can go through the pits once, as they're doing there. You can see a few of the cars going straight through the pits and going back out onto the track and then joining the grid. So they've got a chance to make a few adjustments or check a few things out about either the track conditions or their cars. Before they actually form up on the grid. Once they're on the grid, their cars have to stay there, and that's the car they'll have to use for the race. What happens if something goes wrong on a lap like this then? If it's something they're not happy about with the car, then they do have the option at this point to go into the spare car and then take that out onto the grid. But the moment they form up on the grid, then they're not able to change.
And then if they're trapped in the pit lane, they'll have to start from the pit lane then.
So currently, they've got another 15 minutes, I believe, less than that, about 10 minutes now until the pit lane shuts.
It can sometimes be like a ballet, can't it? Hold on.
Roger, 5 point detection. Roger, 5 point.
Well, it's cut off, but it's amazing that, you know, you have a certain amount of time, but there's such a frenzy of motion within a pit in the last moments, and somehow it's like Annika's challenge or whatever, they seem to get it done at the last gasp and get them out there most times. And the pressure when you're in a racing car, when all that's happening around you and you've got an event to face as well, you've just got to really just stay focused, let everybody do their job, and then get on and do yours rather than getting flustered with massive activity going around you if things are late or behind the schedule.
Well, Takuma Sato is a bit late out of the pit lane, and he's had enough problems this weekend. Now he's, oh, I see, he may be doing a practice start before he goes out. There you can just see the car in front of him on the pits channel. I can see it, it's not been put out on the master channel yet, but the pits channel just showed the car in front of Takuma Sato going out of the pit lane, doing a practice start. It's their only chance they can do that. They can't do that on the circuit, so you don't want to do it too often because that's the car you're going to be using for the actual start, and that's just extra stress doing too many of them. You might be able to get away with just one.
So it looks as if Jax has called it a day from going through the pits now. He's forming up on the grid. That's on the onboard channel.
Yeah, the onboard channel's a good one to look at right now.
That's a nice shot.
We've got on board with Jack Villeneuve, just arrived on his grid position, always packed with people who are there to be seen and there to do a job as well. And it's quite easy to have someone trip over your car when you're going into the grid, and it's very easy to run over people's heels as well. So
I'm sure I just saw something on the diamond screen there with smoke everywhere. Actually,
a lot of pressure on that young man for this race this season.
Jenson Button, I mean, it's been said by himself, which is putting more pressure on himself, I'd say, and it's also been said by Flavio that Jenson has to do it this year. I was led to believe that Jenson had a contract to go back to Williams should he choose, which you'd love to believe was true, but the indications seem to be that he's got a lot of driving to do between now and the end of this season to show that, in fact, he won't even get to the end of the season. He'll have to do it somewhere between now and the British Grand Prix to prove that he's in the hunt to remain a Formula One driver. I certainly hope he does. I'd be rooting for him. I think he's got talent. I think he's been pushed a little bit too hard, hyped a little bit too much on the way in, and if he's got any fight in him at all, then he's got about 6 races now to show it.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, because we've seen Flavio Briatore, the boss of Renault, is no stranger to, let's say, letting drivers go before the end of the year.
Pretty important thing happening here. We've got Rubens being wheeled back into the garage. Only 13 minutes now to go before they close the pits. Wonder what that's for. That's quite unusual to see a car wheeled back into the pits, unless there's something seriously he's not happy about. Temperature now on the track is 20 degrees, air temperature 18, so that's a lot warmer than it was yesterday. That will have a bearing on the performance of the tyres.
Well, the thing was, it was 17 degrees in session 3 and 4, I think it was, and it still didn't seem to be helping the Michelin. So we know that the Michelins work pretty well in the warmer temperatures, and maybe on the faster corners as well. So maybe they might need a trifle more help from the ambient or track temperature.
What will happen, though, Perry, hasn't had a chance to happen this weekend, is that the track will clean up. When they start on a new circuit, it's what we call green, which is ridiculous because it's not green, it's black. But it hasn't got any rubber stuck to it, and that makes the track much more abrasive. And when it rains, it brings dust down with it onto the track, making the track, preventing the tyre rubber from sticking to the track again. So the track stays green, and it will be a green track.
OK, we can go live to the pit lane now and join Giancarlo Fisichella. Giancarlo, congratulations on your position in the grid. What are your hopes for the race?
Thank you. Hopefully I I hope to get to the end and score some point is going to be our target. Obviously, get on the podium is going to be the best result for us, but it's not easy. You know, the top team are so quick compare us and compare other people, but I will do my best.
Giancarlo, it's Damon Hill speaking here. I just want to ask you, first of all, welcome back to Jordan again. You're a driver who was there to start with and then went away, and now you're back, but you must feel like you're at home. But also, do you think that your qualifying position, 8th qualifying, is representative, because it was a little bit of a lottery session yesterday?
First of all, I like to say hello to Damon. And then, I'm very happy, very pleased to be back home in Jordan. I had a very good year in '97, you know, and now I am back with them. There is still the same atmosphere, which is very good for me. And then about the qualifying session, I think our place was top 10. I did a good choice with the tires, a good choice with the time to get out from the garage. But in the morning, we demonstrate our competitive compared to the other people. So I think the car is good, and we need just more power.
Thank you, Giancarlo. I think we're going to let you get back to your serious job you have to do now.
Well, we've still got both Rubens Barrichello and Andy Irvine in the pits.
Time running out, of course, and the...
Okay, he must have heard me. Well done, Rubens. Go on, get a move on, son.
So, on pole position, one of the last out of the pits, so he's got a lot of traffic to get through just to take up his grid position.
Yeah. But Irvine in there... Oh, Eddie's heard me. I'm just looking at the pits monitor now, which you can receive at home should you wish. Eddie's just pulled out, so it looks as if everybody's going to form up as they should.
Looks like Eddie Irvine has a long season ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the embarrassing thing, as far as I'm concerned, for Jaguar is not just their qualifying position, but the fact that they're actually behind arrows using a customer Cosworth engine. And they're supposed to be the works full team.
Yeah, I did read, I mean, it's a fair point to make. Since Niki Lauda has taken over the running of the team, you can't flick a switch and suddenly make all the changes you necessarily have to do to make a team competitive. And one of the things he has done is bought a new wind tunnel, which is essential. But up until now, the team has been using a wind tunnel in America, I believe, which is, the time it takes just getting to and from the wind tunnel is a bit of an inconvenience, can you imagine, for Milton Keynes. So just saying, I'm just popping out to the wind tunnel, you're on a 12-hour flight, and then the time difference.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think they've taken a little bit of a long time to get around to that, because, you know, when Eddie Jordan kicked off, they didn't have a wind tunnel, they outsourced, you know, managed to find somewhere.
Yeah, but you need your own wind tunnel, and now they have it, so during this season we'll get, they'll be able to make some improvements. There we can see actually Ron Walker, who is the, Ronald, sorry, J. Walker is his correct title, who is the promoter of the Australian Grand Prix. He's a very large man, and I'd like to see who he's talking to, but we're not going to get to see that.
It's not Peter Windsor.
It's obviously some celebrity, and there she is, and her lovely husband, I presume. And that's, of course, the Australian team owner himself, Paul Stoddart.
Who's been battling in more ways than one this weekend.
Yeah, he has. He's been taking everyone on. You know, he's been very outspoken. He probably feels a little bit more secure on home soil, but perhaps he won't feel quite so secure when he gets to Europe. Anyway, he told everyone what he thought.
And did a very good job of it, yeah. I might add. Yeah.
Blue sky, lovely to see. Well, things are looking up there in Melbourne, weather-wise anyway.
So we've got this first corner rush coming into turn one. Well, what's it like going through that turn, Damon, with an entire pack around you?
It's a tough one, this one, because fairly long old straight up to the first corner, and then you really have to slam on the brakes. And you can imagine it's just like driving on the motorways, you know, and then someone at the front just slams on their brakes. You know, you just get the big concertina effect. There's talking about going to the toilet during the race and stuff. We've got the world champion himself needing to relieve himself, I think.
See, with so many things in common.
Yeah.
That's about it, but I've got a set of fireproofs as well.
It's good to see he's human, isn't it?
Yes.
Even in some respects. There's no wind, very little wind, judging from the data channel that we can see. On the data channel, it shows you wind direction, wind speed, humidity, air pressure. They've got a high currently of 10-20 millibars. That's the grid. We're watching the grid in grid formation at times.
OK, let's join the pole winner, Rubens Barrichello. He's with Peter Windsor.
Rubens, first race of the season, not a bad place to start pole position.
No, and it's the fact that it's so relaxing, so cool, everything works fine. I mean, we know the car already. Anything can happen in the race. It's very open, but to be starting here is better than starting any other place.
You're a bit late onto the grid. Did you have a problem at all with the car?
No, just making a final adjustment because the track is different from the one we know from Friday, Saturday. That's just a guessing a little bit.
Everybody wants me to ask this question. Is there a question of team orders today?
I have not been told to do anything like this. It's obvious that if I'm behind Michael and I'm second faster, I think they let me by. So it's the same case for him.
Great. Very best of luck.
Thank you.
From that, we take it that he's been asked to let Michael through because Michael is usually a second faster than everyone. But Rubens clearly happy to be on pole position, but he was relaxed but very eager to get away from the interview and into the car and put his mind on the job ahead. He won't be so relaxed in about 5 minutes from now, I don't think.
That's one aspect that does amaze me. I'm delighted that they do talk, but amazed that they do.
Yeah, you know, there's a period up to which you're I was quite happy. A lot of drivers are quite happy to just break the ice and you know, they've done all their preparation, they've got their mind in gear, and it's nice to just have a little bit of a light-hearted chat with someone about things. There's Ron Dennis. We're looking at Ron Dennis looking closely at the Ferrari, as you might well do, and just probably wondering what bits he'd like on his car and what bits they shouldn't have on their car.
Very big day for one Alan McNish at last, a Formula One driver with the brand new Toyota team. He joins us now. Alan, congratulations on your debut. Did you think at any stage that it might not happen?
Certainly in my career, there's no question about that. When I was signing up with Porsche to go into sports cars in the mid-90s, I was pretty much of the opinion that it wouldn't happen. But the one thing I have learned in motor racing is you never say never. You just keep your head down, you keep working, and strange things happen.
Alan, it's great to see you out there, mate. It's Perry, and looking forward to seeing you have a good race, mate. You excited?
Yeah, well, excitement, yeah. I think the excitement actually stopped about 20 minutes ago, because when we're getting prepared to get into the car, my mind was just sort of thinking about, you know, what the job we've got to do. But when I was going around in the parade lap waving to the crowd, and there's so many people shouting and saying congratulations, good luck, you know, that was a very, very special feeling. There was a little bit of a tear in the eye.
It's your first time to Albert Park. What do you think of it as a circuit? Very challenging?
It's certainly trickier than what it looks on paper and what I saw from the footage of previous races. The corners are quite deceptive. They sort of drag you in at times, and you can see quite a few people at the first corner just sliding wide going across the grass. And so I think it's actually more technical than people give it credit for.
Alan, it's Damon here. Perry and I really wish you the best, and we take your hats off to you. You've persevered and you've got your just desserts, and we wish you the very best for the race. Good luck.
Thank you very much, and I hope everyone enjoys it back in the UK.
We'll be watching.
OK, there you are, Damon, on the previous winners list, and something unique about that caption that just disappeared, because you won back-to-back in Australia.
That's right. I believe that's a unique thing because the last race of the year in '95 was held in Adelaide, and then the first race of '96 was held in Melbourne, so both in the same country, and I won consecutive races in the same country. And if you're into kind of boring statistics like that, then that's one of them.
I think a few of us are, actually. We saw Ron Dennis earlier on having a long, hard look at the Ferrari. Now he's taking a long, hard look at Peter Windsor.
Ambient temperatures picked up a bit. Do you think you're in the Michelin performance zone now?
It's certainly going to help. Certainly going to help. It's definitely warming up. Whether it stays dry remains to be seen. That's what our forecasters are telling us, and it's certainly going to help us.
Two brand new cars, of course. What are your expectations realistically today?
Well, we've had some very successful testing, good reliability. We think the cars are very quick. We had not much of an opportunity to optimise the cars in qualifying, and having a fully developed car was certainly an advantage. Who'd think you could come to Australia and have 2 days, two and a half days of rain? It's very unusual, but it's the same for everybody, and in the circumstances, you've just got to look at it as the first race, nothing else.
Kimi Räikkönen looks uncannily like Mika Häkkinen in the car. Is he like him out of the car?
No, he's quite a different personality. Very cool. I mean, Mika was cool, but he's ice cool. In fact, he's already picked up the nickname in the team as the Iceman. So he's a very, very, very focused individual. He doesn't speak a lot, but when he does, it makes sense. And he's a very committed racing driver. I think he's going to be the man of the future.
Well, very good luck to you today.
Thank you.
Ron Dennis, McLaren, of course. There's an edge in that team, isn't there, between Coulthard, who's not #1 but should be #1 and has the chance to grab it, and Räikkönen, the young, thrusting young buck. I mean, is that edge created quite deliberately by the team boss?
Well, they always like to put one driver against the other because I think they believe that you'll get the better performance, and it makes sense. You know, if you've got pressure, then you tend to drive faster. Now, I saw Ron there he seemed to be he seemed to be swelling with pride with his new driver, another Finn, the Iceman, he's called him already. Well, you know, all those things suggest that Ron is really kind of a fan of his new driver, and he's done a good job. Quite how he's going to match up to David with all his experience. There's a 10-year age gap here. It's interesting. When I was teammates with David, I was 10 years older than him as well. And it's a little bit uncomfortable when you've got a younger guy coming up behind you.
Ambient temperature increase, because that will certainly improve their potential and their performance.
The long look down the grid from behind as that is looking down towards the first corner. Jenson Button making his last preparations as he gets ready to start what he hopes will be a much, much stronger 2002 season. The Renault team really beginning to gel now and things beginning to work for them, but they've got to work hard to get on terms with the top teams. And Williams BMW, there's no doubt about it, a lot of people are putting their money on Juan Pablo Montoya as a true challenger throughout the season this year to Michael Schumacher. Ralf Schumacher as well proved what he can do, winning 3 races last season. And the team a little disappointed in their initial tests in Barcelona. But this track, John, doesn't feature those long, fast corners that the Williams team seemed to be struggling with in their initial tests.
No, this is a circuit. You've got lots of fast curves, but they're not curves that really load up the car, load up the tyre in particular. The majority of the corners here, as I mentioned earlier, they're not much quicker than 75 or 80 miles an hour. So it's a major compromise in terms of car setup.
And just to remind you, on the wall behind where the grid trolley is, there's a number 5 sign, so you know where to line up.
Little reminder from the team and giving Ralph a visual cue as to where to bring the car back to on the grid. It might seem obvious, but it's not that easy, John, always, to find your spot on the grid.
Well, I think it was Giancarlo Fisichella got lost on the grid last year, and I think it might have been here, in fact.
Well, it's a sensible idea for a member of the team just to give Ralph there a visual cue. Say, look for this behind the fence, and then you'll be in the right place when you line up. And nothing worse than being out of position and picking up a penalty straight away. The crowd just beginning to feel the excitement rising as we're just under 5.5 minutes away from the start of this first Grand Prix. Now, Sauber have been having all sorts of problems with their cars stopping on the back section of the track, and we saw Felipe Massa stop no less than 3 times this morning. Nick Heidfeld stopped twice yesterday. I just hope that they've managed to sort that problem out.
Well, they claimed it was a software problem, was the fault with the Sauber, and Heidfeld had a fuel pressure problem. And if you put the two things together, it seems fairly obvious that the software problem is what's causing the fuel pressure problem. But that's all we've heard from the Sauber team, and it was so obvious on that car Massa was driving that surely they must have been able to resolve it by now.
Ben Mailander will be driving the safety car, the pace car, at the start of this race, as we're getting all prepared now for the start of the warm-up lap, and then the race start itself. The Ferraris looking to continue their successful run here in Australia. They have won on the last 3 occasions, Eddie Irvine in 1999 and Michael Schumacher for the past 2 years. Today it is Rubens Barrichello who will lead the Ferraris at the start of this race, but for how long? Will he let Michael Schumacher through? I can't see that happening in the early stages at least, but Michael will want to earn the lead of this race for himself. Behind them, they'll be watching out for the Williams BMWs. Let's take another look at the track layout once again here. We've got those sectors to look for, the intermediate sections that give us a good idea as to when people are on a quick lap. The lap record at the moment is Michael Schumacher's, a 1 minute 28.214, but we've seen an improvement in times this weekend. That is likely to go today.
Well, it will do, but it's again going to be very weather dependent. Well, there's a bit of a, Montoya still standing talking to Gerhard Berger. I'd love to know what they were discussing. The smile on Gerhard's face gives me a clue. But Montoya, just 3 minutes before he's even into his car.
No, he seems to be extremely relaxed. Interesting discussion going on.
Patrick saying, go on, you've got a day job to do. Get into your car. But interesting, Adrian Newey talking to Patrick Head and Mario Illen from the Mercedes-Benz team. And, of course, Adrian Newey worked with Patrick Head in the Williams team some years ago before he moved on to the McLaren team.
And meanwhile, Michael Schumacher just taking a little sip to get himself refreshed before the start of this Grand Prix. The lower temperatures, of course, will reduce the dehydration that they suffer from throughout the Grand Prix distance. One of the fittest drivers, probably the fittest driver in Formula One, Michael Schumacher, takes his training so seriously. Let's take another quick look at the lineup for today's grid then. Rubens Barrichello on pole position, the 4th of his career. Michael Schumacher, winner here for the last 2 years in a row. Ralf Schumacher, his best qualifying performance here in Australia. David Coulthard, a former winner around this circuit, and his new teammate Kimi Räikkönen lining up 5th. Juan Pablo Montoya starting his 2nd season in Formula One. Jarno Trulli for Renault in 7th, and Giancarlo Fisichella. They've swapped teams, those two. They're both on the 4th row. Ahead of Felipe Massa and Nick Heidfeld driving for Sauber. Another strong performance from the Swiss Sauber team. And then behind those two, we could see the cars of Button and Olivier Panis. Then it's Jacques Villeneuve, Mika Salo for Toyota, Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Arrows, Alan McNish, the 2nd Toyota, Enrique Bernaldi and Mark Webber, the Australian, making his debut this weekend. Eddie Irvine back in 19th place ahead of teammate Pedro de la Rosa. Alex Young and Takuma Sato bringing up the rear.
There's a little bit of a panic going on with Montoya and the team that can't find the seat belts, and the team are going to have to clear off. They should have been off. All remaining personnel leave the grid at 1 minute. They've got 30 seconds to get that job done, or else Montoya is going to be in a problem.
Well, this is dramatic stuff indeed, and perhaps it wasn't just nonchalance that meant he wasn't in the car a little while ago. There must have been some sort of problem. Patrick having a quick chat.
15 seconds to go.
And everybody very aware that they've got to get him safely strapped in and sorted. Tyre blankets are coming off now.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They should all be getting off the grid now.
Well,
come on, get the car on the ground if you're going to do that. We've got 1 minute. Get it on the ground, get the starter in. Get the starter in and start it.
This is reminiscent of Belgium Grand Prix last year. where Ralph Schumacher's car was left up in the stands.
Okay, down on the ground. Down on the ground.
Well,
that was a very, very close call.
You could see Montoya smiling there. Perhaps he enjoyed that a little bit, a bit of a buzz, just to get ready for the start of this race. Right, we are all prepared now, then, for the final formation lap before the start of the Grand Prix. And you think he might have been angry. He was angry yesterday when they sent him out in qualifying when it was raining.
Flag.
Yes, we've got somebody who's got a problem down there, the midsection of the grid. And we'll try and take a look and see who that is. We'll spot that in just a moment.
I think it's one of the arrows. It might be Frentzen, in fact. It is Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the arrows. He'll have to wait until the entire field goes past, and also Eddie Irvine slew away as well. Frentzen, Bernoldi, I beg your pardon.
So the team will now have an opportunity to
both arrows. Well, it was Frentzen, and Bernoldi was caught behind Frentzen. He couldn't move because all the other cars were coming past.
First race of the season often throws up things like this.
Go on.
Let's try and listen on the radio. Unexpected problems at the start of the season. We've seen it before here in Australia. And dear oh dear, they still haven't got those two Arrows cars off the grid. This is really remarkable. Reminds you of that time we talked about earlier when the two Stewarts were in trouble on the grid. It's not quite as dramatic. There aren't flames coming out of the backs of the car. But nonetheless, it's not a very good start for Arrows, and Tom Walkinshaw won't be too impressed about that. Now,
Frenson's car is going to be being pulled off onto the. I don't think they can take. I think this is going to have to be an aborted start.
Out of the car to the T car.
In fact, yes, we could hear them calling Heinz-Harald to get out of that car and get into the spare car. And he'll have to start that from the pit lane, obviously, as they rush to try and get these cars out of the way of the field, which is gradually making its way around this Albert Park circuit. Track temperature up to 21 degrees at the moment. The Ferraris lead them round. Barrichello, Schumacher and Ralf Schumacher, with Coulthard and Raikkonen. Everybody getting a bit of heat in the tyres, and frantic activity going on now, John, in the Arrows pit.
Yes, both Arrows are still on the side of the racetrack. And I'm just waiting to see how long it is before we see a signal from race control to say that this race, well, they got them both away, so we're not going to have a problem. But what a disaster for Tom Walkinshaw and the Arrows team. And that was all because Frentzen had a problem that then involved Bernoldi. He couldn't get out and get past because he had cars that were behind him filing past, quite rightly too.
Well, tremendous disappointment for those guys. For Heinz-Harald Frentzen, his first race for the Arrows team was due to drive for Prost, remember, but the Prost team folding before the start of the season. That freed up Frentzen, and Tom Walkinshaw snatched him and removed Verstappen. Still listening up on their radio, try and catch what's going on down there as they scrabble to get Frentzen into the spare car to start from the pit lane. Now, the Ferraris are in position. Rubens Barrichello, the Brazilian, did not win a race throughout 2001, despite being in the car that everybody said was the car of the season. Can he make amends for that here today? Ross Brawn, the master tactician, watching as we get ready for the start of this first Grand Prix of 2002. We gather that Montoya's problem was a flat battery. That's what the panic at Williams was all about. The panic at Arrows, no doubt for a different reason. Here it comes then. All of that winter testing is behind them. Now is when we truly find out how they are going to deal with 2002. The Australian Grand Prix is underway, and it's a good start from the second row with Ralf Schumacher trying to squeeze through David Coulthard, and contact! Ralf Schumacher in the air and into the gravel trap, and an Axel and into the tyre barrier as well, and Ralf Schumacher cars all over the place. Saubers, Jordans, there's a Toyota in the middle of that, a BAR, and it is a disastrous start to the Australian Grand Prix.
Ben, I hope I didn't see this, but I just suspected that not what was going on at the front, but what was going on at the back. This is going to be...
Okay, let's get the T car ready for John.
It's going to be a T car out. We'll see the safety car out. It's going to be... has to be a restart. You cannot continue the circuit in this condition. Yellow flags certainly are out, localised yellow flags. Ralf Schumacher was challenging Rubens Barrichello. Barrichello cut from left to right, and then of course we saw what happened for the second race in succession here in Australia. Ralf Schumacher has been involved in a major accident. It occurred here at turn 1. Last year it was turn 3.
Well, it was David Coulthard who made a brilliant start from the second row of the grid. Ralf also made a good start, but it's Coulthard who got in front. And as the cars make their way around, of course, they are taking it easy now. But, well, problems.
Look at that.
So
carnage.
many drivers. That is remarkable. And looking on our timing and scoring system here, all the cars from 12th place onwards are stopped on the track. 11 cars are running at this one. In fact, Raikkonen's just got going again, so Raikkonen's running. 12 cars are running.
We've got Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher, Fisichella, Massa, Heidfeld, Button, Panis and McNish. They were all involved in this incident.
Now let's take a look here, John, at what happened.
But watch Barrichello, and Ralf Schumacher goes between the two Ferraris. He out-accelerates his brother. Barrichello goes to the middle, then more to the right, then Ralf cuts back, of course. Rubens brakes. Look at, I mean, unbelievable. Ralf Schumacher was so fortunate, and he found the part of the safety runoff area with the most space. Now watch again. Schumacher goes one way, then Barrichello the other way, cuts back. Barrichello brakes. Ralf outbrakes himself, basically. Ralf missed his braking point.
Yeah, it does look that way. He went in without braking as Barrichello brakes and just ran into the back of him. And look at the carnage behind as cars just all over the place. Felipe Massa, the car nearest to our camera here in the middle. Well, it's just you can't see for the smoke. One or two, the Jaguars managed to sneak round.
Yes, they did. Jaguars, but drive shafts, every lubrication you can imagine on the track. And look, everybody running back now to get to those single spare cars.
Well, what a dramatic start to the season. Fisichella there running back. Olivier Panis as well. It's turned into a running race rather than a Grand Prix for the moment as everybody sprints back to get into their spare cars. But the safety car leads David Coulthard around. The laps are ticking away here at the moment, and it's Coulthard who is race leader.
Indeed it is, and it's Jarno Trulli who's in second place. I mean, really, I'm just sitting here thinking about what occurred. I could understand that happening midfield, but between two guys on the front two rows, that I have to say is just outrageous. Raikkonen, I'm sure, is the one that's going to come in for McLaren. He's saying, I didn't do anything wrong.
Well, what disappointment for Rubens. Pole position, and then the hit from behind. Nothing he could do about it. He was on the brakes for the first corner, and Ralf Schumacher ploughed straight into the back of him. Well, always a possibility. It's the first Grand Prix of the year. The nerves are jangling. Let's take another look at this. Side to side, there was certainly a fair bit of weaving going on.
Well, just again, it's just almost impossible. I mean, Ralf Schumacher's car, it must have gone 20 feet up in the air before it fortunately came back down on all four wheels square. And luckily, the part of the gravel that he came down in allowed him the maximum amount of space before he actually hit that tyre barrier. But, I mean, that was frightening. It was very frightening indeed, but it looks as though all the drivers are okay, all out of their machines. And David Coulthard leads Jarno Trulli in the Renault around. Third place, Juan Pablo Montoya. Michael Schumacher got squeezed back down to fourth in all of that. And look, Eddie Irvine and Pedro de la Rosa, who I said managed to sneak around the outside, they're now up into 5th and 6th places, would you believe it? Sato 7th, Webber, the Australian, is in 8th, then Alex Young, Jacques Villeneuve and Kimi Raikkonen. Now, the race has not been stopped. Let's just make sure what's going on here. The race has not been stopped. The safety car is out there, but the race order remains as it is. And if it stays like this, John, without stopping the race, presumably these drivers won't be allowed out in their spare cars. The only time you can take the spare car is if the race is actually stopped. There we see Raikkonen making his way into the pits. The team have got a fresh set of rubber for him in case he either picked up something or there's been a damage to a wheel. I mean, he was right in the midst of all that. Fortunately, he appeared to get through it clear. Well, it's the nose must have been damaged somehow or other. Clipped maybe a part of another car or clipped another car. So Ron Dennis controlling the whole operation from the pit wall. And again, diving down the back of Raikkonen. Something's happened to the...
So maybe some debris gone down there or something, John.
I don't know what it is. Certainly, he must have undone his seatbelts. He could not have moved forward like that without... Yeah, something's down there. Something caught down his back. It's irritating him.
Yeah, the belts must be a little loose because he can move a little bit at the moment.
You would not move like that unless the belts were disconnected.
Well, there's obviously a major problem down there with the seat or with something, some debris perhaps that got thrown around in that accident. Something's been pulled out, and he gets back into the field once again. But dear, oh dear. And also running there is Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Now remember, he'd already jumped into the spare car and started
in the pit lane.
From the pit lane.
Indeed, so for Frentzen, it's in a sense, I mean, it's not, I can't say it's been a gift, but at least he's had the opportunity to get back into the race in a circumstance which he could never have dreamed of, 10 seconds before the races are due to start.
Well, and the fact that we have only some 12 runners or 11 runners at the moment means that points could be a possibility. Another view here of the start.
As Ralph moved, very quick move over to the right, then cuts back to the left, but see, he doesn't even hit the brakes. Rubens brake for the corner, which he's entitled to do, obviously, and the fact that Ralph got himself behind Barrichello and just had nowhere to go. He was on the throttle, and well, very, very fortunate. But then as the carnage, look at the Ferrari, Ross Brawn absolutely distraught. The carnage that takes place consequently, because nobody can quite see what's going on there. Oh, and Sam, Michael and Patrick Head, they're not happy. They think that's...
Well, it was a pretty frightening looking accident, wasn't it, John?
Horrendous.
And as their car, their man, flew into the air, you just never know what's going to happen after they take off like that. In fact, Ralph was really very fortunate. A lot of space, a huge amount of runoff, and the angle the car went off at, there was time for it to slow down a bit before it got to the tyres. Now, still work going on down there in pit lane, but let's just let you know once again that David Coulthard is leading the Australian Grand Prix. Behind him, it's Jarno Trulli in the Renault. There you see the leaders come through. Third place for Montoya, fourth place for Michael Schumacher, fifth place for Eddie Irvine, De La Rosa behind him, then Takuma Sato, Mark Webber just through the picture there, then Alex Young, Jacques Villeneuve, and then Mika Salo has managed to get that car back onto the track once again. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is behind him as we take another look.
It's the move Barrichello makes, then Schumacher counters, that's Ralph, and then suddenly he just seems to forget he's got to put his brakes on.
And then he goes off, running through, down to the tyres, and Barrichello, of course, was spun out, and then tyre smoke, everybody else hitting each other as a result. That's Enrique Bernoldi that you see walking back. Now, he was stranded on the grid originally, if you remember, and I don't think there's any really much chance of him getting into the race as David Coulthard leads them round. The safety car being brought into action at the start of the season this year. And, well, we saw a big accident here last year, if you remember. That was on the fourth lap of the race. And this time, they didn't even get into the first corner before we saw the first accident of the season.
Well, just picking up some news from the pit lane, Ralf Schumacher saying that, well, he didn't say that Rubens braked early, but he probably did brake fractionally early, which is what you should do at the start of a Grand Prix into the first corner. And Ralph simply just miscalculated. He made an error, and the whole incident really is down to him.
Felipe Massa, what a great shame for this young Brazilian who had impressed us all throughout practice and qualifying. And now he's just one of the victims. The other Sauber as well, I'm afraid, is out. So after such a promising performance from the Sauber team in qualifying, with both of their cars in the top 10, it's all over for them already.
Nick Heidfeld and Felipe Massa relegated to the pit lane. Peter Sauber absolutely gutted by the events that have taken place, that have unfolded. I did anticipate the midfield being the problem area, and I'd like to see maybe some of the onboard shots from those cars to see how much vision they actually had, or whether they just got transfixed on what was taking place ahead of them, and they themselves, you know, didn't focus on what was immediately ahead of them.
Looking at Kimi Räikkönen here as he just cruises around behind the safety car. But remember, Kimi has been into the pits, put a new set of tyres on. He's running in 11th position now. And, well, we're just going to have to keep an eye on the proceedings here. Incident involving Frentzen under investigation by the stewards. Now, well, not quite sure what that's about at this point, but no doubt we shall discover soon.
Well, all I can assume is that the procedure that occurred on the actual grid, and then Frentzen running and jumping into the spare car, whether that has caused a problem with the interpretation of the regulations, or whether it's something subsequent on the grid, on the track.
Race safety car coming in this lap, so the Australian Grand Prix is going to get well and truly underway in a moment, and this is great news for David Coulthard. He has got Jarno Trulli behind him. He's got Montoya then next up. Now, that was when Frentzen joined into the race. I wonder if that caused a problem.
Well, all I can think is that he should have maybe waited until the entire field had gone through, or maybe he came across that yellow line, which you're not permitted to do. We didn't see the full sequence, you just saw him come out of the pits. But clearly something has caught the attention of the race director and deputy director, and they are taking it to the stewards.
Right, safety car bringing them round. Will be coming in this time around, and David Coulthard has the opportunity he needs to try and open up an advantage over Michael Schumacher. Schumacher has Montoya immediately ahead of him in third place. Now, what are the chances of Montoya letting Michael Schumacher through? Not great, I would say, because Montoya sees this as an ideal opportunity to stay in front of the Ferrari and himself go chasing after Coulthard. The question really is how quick Trulli is going to be.
Well, I think that's going to be the real bout for Montoya and for Michael Schumacher, because Jarno Trulli, believe me, in a single lap is going to be plenty quick, and he's not going to move over because he's got two of the super teams behind him. He's there because of circumstance. He's going to try and stick to the tail of David Coulthard and work on Coulthard and forget about Montoya and Michael Schumacher. But look at the two Jaguars. I mean, they have an appalling Friday and an appalling Saturday, and here they are, not on merit, but just by circumstance, 5th and 6th.
So here we go then after 4 laps of the safety car. David Coulthard brings them through the last corner, building up to speed, and the race is well and truly underway now, with Coulthard leading for McLaren Mercedes, Jarno Trulli in second place for Renault, Montoya just locking a break into turn 1 and looking aggressive immediately. Michael Schumacher in 4th, then the two Jaguars coming through, and we have lost so many cars from this race already. Let me just tell you who's out. It's Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher, Fisichella, Felipe Massa. Oh, and look at this.
Montoya tried to pass down the inside into turn 6. That was trying to get past Trulli. He's allowed, or I beg your pardon, turn 3, and he's allowed in doing so Michael Schumacher to take away third place. I mean, Juan Montoya to take a punt down the inside into turn 3 was a huge risk.
A big risk. He is a racer, but that was perhaps not the wisest move at this point in the race, and it's allowing David Coulthard to do exactly what he wants to do and pull away from Jarno Trulli. Now Michael Schumacher will attack Trulli and try and move up into second. He will not want to let David Coulthard have free air for long, and he will be trying to get past the blue and yellow Renault of the Italian.
Now, Ben, we have seen in practice and in qualifying that the Ferrari's top speed is only about 306 miles k's per hour on the quickest part of the circuit. In fact, Jarno Trulli was marginally quicker.
Trulli just covering the inside a little bit there into the Ascari corner, but Schumacher wasn't able to get quite close enough. Look at that, the speed through the right-hander. The Ferrari looking so fast, but this is where he's got to set up a possible overtaking manoeuvre.
Yes, but of course the Renault has got straight line speed. Michael's got corner speed, he's got momentum off the corner, but look, nothing in acceleration. Now he's not going to be able to do anything from here on down into the corner. It's very risky to have a look down the inside, particularly somebody who's being very racy like Jarno Trulli.
Yeah, and a late break there from Michael Schumacher actually allowed Trulli to pull away slightly. So this is Coulthard's opportunity to make a break, and it's already 3 seconds. 3 seconds advantage for David Coulthard over this battle for second. Let's take a look at what Montoya was up to. Tried to go down the outside a little bit and just made a mistake.
It wasn't even trying to pass, he just got on the dirty part of the track, trying to place himself in such a way that he could get a run at Trulli at one of the later sections of the circuit. He just made a misjudgment and he got caught by what is still an offline track that's very, very green.
So the battle for second place between Jarno Trulli, the Italian, who's never won a Grand Prix, made his debut back here at Melbourne back in 1997.
This is where Michael Schumacher's got to start his work. He's got to get himself into position sufficiently close to Trulli coming through here that he can really get on the throttle and drive that Ferrari out of turn 12, pick up such slipstream as there is and put himself in a position to dive down the inside, but Trulli's going to cover it.
Yes, it's not close enough once again, and Trulli, you can see he's driving the wheels off that Renault to stay in front of Schumacher. You can see the car twitching around. Look at the speed differential through the right-hander there at turn 14, but unless Michael can find a good exit.
He's got a good chance because Trulli didn't do a good exit on 15. Michael's got the run of 16. He's got the horsepower. He might take a chance. Trulli will defend, but just watch Schumacher. Here he comes. Can he get down the inside? Yes, 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 yes.
Oh, I thought there was going to be contact there, but they managed to sort it out. But look at this. It's now put Michael under attack from Montoya because Michael Schumacher lost ground. Oh, and Trulli's locking up. Montoya taking that wider line, but Michael, oh, and again he makes the mistake there.
Well, he doesn't learn the first time, and he certainly didn't learn the second time. Montoya got the momentum back up while this battle for second place is going on, and yet again he tried to take that wide line to give him position so that when he comes through 4 out of 5 and into turn 6 he could be in position to challenge. Here's the view head on. Schumacher thinking, will I, oh no, he just cuts me off. But good motor racing, Formula One.
Good racing from the two of them, yes, absolutely. Commitment from both Trulli and Schumacher, but this is still allowing Coulthard to get away. 4.5 seconds is David Coulthard's lead here. Trulli in second place, Michael Schumacher in third, then it's Montoya. Eddie Irvine is still in 5th place. He's dropped about 6 seconds off this battle that we're watching as Michael closes up to Trulli once again.
The big problem for Michael Schumacher is that Jarno Trulli is running about 1.5 seconds slower than David Coulthard, and therefore the speed that Schumacher is capable of running at is also down about 1.5 seconds. Coulthard's disappearing into the distance. He's 7 seconds ahead of Jarno Trulli at this moment.
Now, here we go. Through these last 2 corners, Trulli's a bit more cautious this time, gets on the power earlier. Look at the lead that David Coulthard has as we look back up that start-finish straight.
And Michael Schumacher not close enough on this time to try and take a dive down the inside. He's going to have to pressure Trulli, particularly through 4. Oh, Trulli's lost it. Trulli spun. Michael's through. It's all over for Jarno Trulli. The back of the car's damaged. Now Montoya comes down once again looking for that outside line. Can he wait? Can he be patient?
Wow, what an amazing race we're watching in the early stages. Trulli's car.
Safety car's got to come out, I'm sure.
Yeah, surely we'll see the safety car coming out. Oh, Montoya! Oh, how much wider do you want to go? He was almost on the grass there completely with that car, but he managed to hold it together, and this is great racing, but Coulthard has a 6.6 second advantage.
The safety car is on standby. We're waiting to see whether it's going to be activated or not. Look, he just under acceleration, the back end of the car gets away, spins inwards, hits the end of the barrier.
Well, absolutely a shunt there for Trulli that he will, look at this, the wheel spinning.
You would think, these cars have got traction control. The Benetton's got the best launch control of anybody, yet as if it suddenly became inactive.
Yeah, it certainly broke away very quickly in the mid part of the corner. Michael saying thank you very much, but this is going to wipe out Coulthard's 6.6 second lead. Whoa, well, that is such bad news for the Scotsman. He's worked so hard on these last few laps, and now it's all going to be wiped out by the safety car.
Indeed, and it's going to make the battle at the front a battle between McLaren with Michelin and Ferrari with Bridgestone. And we're still looking at track temperatures which are rising. So all that is going towards helping the Michelin cars, and that is now a Michelin sandwich with the Bridgestone, the meat in the middle.
Oh, wow, this is fantastic. Oh, Coulthard up in front, now has Michael Schumacher filling his mirrors with Montoya just looking for his opportunity to sneak through into second place once they get the all clear once again. They're going past the stricken car of Trulli. This allows the other cars to close up. Irvine, now look at Raikkonen, John. Raikkonen's been making up some good ground. We've been concentrating on that battle up front, of course we have, but Raikkonen has moved himself up into 5th place.
And he's going to be right in the frame because he's got Eddie Irvine ahead of him now. That will not be an easy overtake. Eddie will fight cat and dog for that 4th place, but Raikkonen will have the horsepower advantage. He will have the car advantage.
Now let's take a look at this. Frentzen.
Oh, wave yellow flag. Now what are you doing? What are you doing? There's a yellow flag. We could see it. Frentzen, get back.
Well, he did. He did do that. So that's good news. It was when the safety car came out and those guys were at the back part of the track. But he was sensible enough to give the place back. There's Mark Webber. And Mark running in 9th position. And let's give you a quick run through the field now. The positions after 9 laps. Coulthard.
Tape. What's that hanging off Coulthard's car? Is it some tape that's come loose between the exit of the air ducts and up around the airbox?
Something looking a bit odd there. The positions: Coulthard, Schumacher, Montoya, then Irvine, Raikkonen and Takuma Sato, then De La Rosa 7th ahead of Villeneuve, Webber and Alex Young. Mika Salo is still going. He's down in 12th. He's made a stop. Frensen's just made a stop as well. And that's about it. So looking at the cars that are out of this race, a huge long list of them. Look at them all. Nick Heidfeld, Jenson Button, Olivier Panis, Alan McNish as well, Felipe Massa, Giancarlo Fisichella, Ralph Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, all out of this race as Jarno Trulli makes his way back towards the pits.
I mean, you can understand what Trulli was trying to do. He was under extreme pressure from Michael Schumacher, and really probably the car just didn't have the grip under it to sustain that degree of pressure and that degree of commitment that Michael Schumacher was putting Jarno Trulli under. This is the view back from the safety car. This year it's the new SL55 from Mercedes with that 5.5 V8 supercharged engine, 476 horsepower, and it sounds wonderful.
It does sound good, doesn't it? Dave Richards, the boss now of the BAR Honda team. Olivier Panis watching from the pit wall. Their remaining car of Jacques Villeneuve still in the race, running in 8th position as the clear-up operation on the exit of turn 2 continues to get Jarno Trulli's car out of the way. Into the pits then comes Villeneuve and Bernoldi. Now Bernoldi did go back out, interestingly enough. They got him back out in that car that didn't want to run at the start of this race, and he has rejoined.
But of course he's 5 laps down, Jacques Villeneuve. He rejoins after that very quick pit stop.
And it's interesting to see, coming in to make that early stop, looked like just a routine stop, 10 laps completed, and this is real IndyCar style use of the safety car period to top up with fuel and hope that helps him in the later part of this race. Jacques Villeneuve taking full advantage, running towards the back of this lead lap anyway, not losing many places by coming in. That might work for him later in the race in terms of fuel strategy. The field coming through, there's Mark Webber, the Australian, managing to get through that first lap incident cleanly. And now an opportunity for him, perhaps, with not so many cars in this race. You never know, he might even get that Minardi up into the points. Australia at last having a driver to cheer on. It's been a while. The most successful Australian driver, of course, was Jack Brabham, or Sir Jack Brabham as he is now, 3 times a world champion, but some years ago. Alan Jones, also a world champion for Australia back in 1980. But it has been a while since we've seen a competitive Australian driver in the Formula One ranks. Now, Trulli's car on the back of the transporter there, being moved out of the way, so it shouldn't be too long before we see the safety car making its way back into the pits. There's a little bit of clearing up perhaps still to be done there, but Trulli's race all done. I think, as you said, John, it was certainly a case of him hanging on as much as possible, and in the end the car perhaps wasn't capable of it. Safety car will be coming in on this lap.
Well, just been picking up on Rubens Barrichello, and one thing he's saying is he thought the decision not to stop the race was a mistake. He thought there was too much bits and pieces of cars around there, but clearly he's speaking from a moment of wanting to get into the spare car. But also he was saying that he thought that he actually braked marginally later than he'd expect, and that Ralph just completely misjudged.
Oh, Coulthard's got off! Coulthard's got off at the restart! Schumacher takes the lead! Montoya goes past him. Now, that is interesting. They've gone past before they get to the line and all that. I wonder how that one's going to work out. Montoya attacking to the outside.
Go past. He's passed someone to brakes. Can he get round the corner? He did. What an unbelievable overtake by the Colombian Montoya. I mean, stuck it on Michael Schumacher big time.
Wow, what a restart. Coulthard off on the grass. Montoya takes Schumacher, and now these two are at battle once again. And the Michelin tyre certainly working well under those conditions as Montoya gets past Michael Schumacher, gets through the first 2 corners, and now is going to try and pull away from the Ferrari.
And what of David Coulthard? He's stuck behind the 2 Jaguars. Let's look again and see. Coming into turn 15, he locks up that inside front wheel. Suddenly he can't slow the car down. I don't believe, David Coulthard, you've got the greatest chance of your career to win a Grand Prix here in Australia, and you blow it like that.
Oh, that is such a disappointment. He's still in the race, but look, he's behind his teammate now, Kimi Räikkönen. He's dropped to 5th position. Irvine up into 3rd place in the Jag. He's not going to be able to live for the pace of these lead 2. We know that Jaguar has not got the performance at the moment, but he is in 3rd place, and Irvine will desperately try and hold on to that. What a result that would be if they can hold on. Long, long way to go in this race. Only the 11 laps been completed so far, and what drama we've seen. And we've got the battle that everyone's been talking about on the lead up to this season, Montoya versus Michael Schumacher.
And, I mean, what an unbelievable pass. Montoya did get a better run off turn 16. He had the momentum, but he just pulled out and on sheer grunt went past the Ferrari. And not only did he go past him, he could get ahead of him before he had to brake. Michael actually backed off earlier than I thought it was necessary. Again, there's some tape or something hanging off the back of Coulthard's car. It's behind the airbox. It's not interfering with the car in any way. It just looks slightly untidy.
So these two, the gap not really changing too much, just a 1 second gap between them. Michael Schumacher right over the curb. We saw Montoya using that curb just a little while ago. Now we begin to get a picture of the relative pace of these two cars. The Williams BMW up front, it is a new car, the 2002 car. Behind it, the Ferrari, the championship winning car effectively of last year, although with modifications, and it's brought up to spec, and this is the battle.
But we've got another battle going on behind that, because Raikkonen and Coulthard are now ahead of Eddie Irvine. Irvine back down to 5th, so there's a battle going on between the two McLaren drivers. There's a little over a second and a bit between them. Here we can see again, what a brilliant bit of overtaking by Montoya. Michael Schumacher went to the inside, blocked, but Montoya's still on the gas when Michael's off it. He locks up a brake. Look at. Oh, goodness, there's so much going on. Sato keeping out of the way of that one.
Only just. That given Michael Schumacher a chance to close up to Montoya there, and he right under the rear wing of Montoya as they come out of that last corner onto start-finish straight. Can he do anything? Look at the acceleration. Important to see. Well, BMW there certainly seem to have the edge.
They've got a superior top speed. This is one of the, in fact, it's the quickest part of the racetrack. The cars in qualifying were doing something like 300 and, well, in the case of Ralf Schumacher, 310. Montoya was doing 309. Michael Schumacher was only doing 306. So at that part of the track, the advantage clearly lies with the Williams. But Ferrari, running probably more downforce, is able to close up in the corner. He's got more corner grip.
Look at that fantastic view that we have access to right over the rear wing of Montoya's car, looking back at Michael Schumacher, and this is what it's all about. The two top drivers battling wheel to wheel, as we've seen already in this race, and Schumacher is not being dropped at all by Montoya.
But interestingly, the quickest car on the circuit right now is the man that threw the lead away in turn 15, and that's David Coulthard, making amends for that appalling error.
Well, let's see what he can do by the end of this race. His teammate Kimi Raikkonen is in 3rd place, Coulthard himself in 4th, Irvine in 5th, De La Rosa 6th, Mark Webber has moved up to 7th, and that looks like Takuma Sato going very slowly, or is he just keeping out of the way?
No, he's going slowly as well as keeping out of the way. Oh, don't pull across the track! And he's trying to get out of the way of Frentzen, but in doing so he's compromising. But look, Michael Schumacher trying to position himself to get a run off turn 16 to do what Montoya did to Schumacher. Schumacher's looking to repay that present, but he's not got enough momentum.
Now, on the power once again, it should be the BMW, although look at this, he picked up a bit of a toe here, having a little look down the inside, but not close enough. John, what we saw last year, I wonder if that's coming in. The Michelin tyre often worked very well initially, went through a little bit of a patch where it wasn't so quick, and then came in again. I wonder if we're going to see that happen this season.
Well, I think also what's occurring is that because they've now run a number of laps, we're into lap, there's 40 or 44 laps remaining at 58, the tyre temperature has built up. It's now operating probably in its operating zone, and that's giving Montoya that little bit of extra grip that he may not have had, but also it's preventing Michael Schumacher getting a good run on Montoya, particularly coming onto pit straight. He's hurting in terms of top speed. He is quicker in other parts of the circuit. The split times are marginally favouring Schumacher one part, but benefiting Montoya in another part.
These two guys are absolutely on the limit. You can see by the amount of road they're using, flicking up the grass here, there and everywhere, coming up towards turns 11 and 12. Fast left, followed by the right, and again over the curb on the exit. Not quite on the grass that time, but very close to it. Montoya having to keep an eye on his mirror. This is our view back from the race leader's car, looking straight back at 4 times world champion Michael Schumacher, who does not like to be beaten.
And this is where Schumacher really can get the job done. He was quick here in practice and qualifying. He closes down to Montoya. Again, he's got to get himself into a position. Montoya is holding the throttle. Schumacher can get on it more heavily, and that's where he has got some advantage. But look, the straight line speed of that BMW Williams is just sufficient to keep Michael Schumacher out of contact.
He moves into the inside now. There might be a little bit less grip on the inside. Oh, it's getting close again.
It's a good chance. Schumacher again positioning himself now, coming down into turn 3 on the outside of the corner that's upcoming. He's got to be careful. He knows what happened to Montoya. He ran wide twice there in opening laps.
Oh, this is fantastic. This is like a Formula Ford race, let alone a Formula 1 race. They're wheel to wheel all the time, and the tension down there in the pit lane. Patrick Head watching his man in control of this race at the moment, but look behind.
Kimi Räikkönen is joining in this battle. He's been quietly getting on with the work. There is David Coulthard trying to make up ground. I mean, what is going through this man's head? He must be absolutely, completely mad with himself for allowing himself to be suckered into locking up a brake and losing 4 places.
Those Ferrari guys look very calm, don't they? I don't know quite how they can feel that calm with this going on up front. Montoya with just a fractional advantage over Michael Schumacher. Kimi Räikkönen joining in on the party, and David Coulthard's not that far behind himself. He's another 5 seconds back, so he's still got plenty of work to do, but he is going very quickly.
Back to the final segment of the circuit again. Schumacher quicker through turn 13 into 14 hole station. Now positioning himself. He doesn't want to overrun Montoya. He wants to be able to pick up the throttle, drive the car through 15, and also maintain that momentum through 16 so that he can get onto the rear of the car, and therefore as they come down into turn 1 at the end of the pit straight to ensure that he's got a chance to pass. He's closing, but again Montoya defends down the inside. Michael can do nothing this time again.
But again, Montoya loses speed in the middle part, and here comes Michael. Michael gets back into Montoya, and Schumacher retakes the lead. A round of applause from the Ferrari mechanics. But these two guys are really racing. This is what motor racing's about, wheel to wheel, giving each other just enough room, making tiny mistakes, trying to take advantage, and Schumacher and Montoya, this is what it's all about.
Well, that is total brilliance from Michael Schumacher. He knew that he forced Montoya into turn 1 to brake late, to not then have the ideal entry to the corner. He's probably off the throttle too long. Michael cut back to the right and just drove around him with about another 5 or 6 miles an hour advantage. Now Raikkonen's going to give a lot of heat to Juan Pablo Montoya.
Yeah, but look at Michael. He's really beginning to pull away. He's definitely got the speed advantage here. And now that he's managed to get past, he is flying as he begins to pull out.
So Montoya on the brakes very late. Can't get the car slowed down, has to straighten it up. Michael sees that, reads it. He just pulls over to the right and just drives around the outside. Thank you, Juan Pablo. I thought you were smarter than you are.
Well, that was fantastic, but you can't say that...
Schumacher's looking over at Montoya. He's watching him. I bet you he's laughing his head off on that helmet.
I bet he is indeed, but he didn't... Neither of them are really making mistakes. It's just pure racing tactics and trying to find a way past. But look at Michael really pulling away from these two as Raikkonen closes in on the back of the Williams BMW of Juan Pablo Montoya.
And Michael Schumacher now really with clear air for the first time this afternoon. 1:31.298, and that is, well, virtually a second quicker than the rest of the field. That's why the gap is opening up that quickly.
Yes, so now it really looks like the Ferrari is working well on lap 17 of this race. Montoya 2.2 seconds behind. We're on board here with Kimi Räikkönen, and is Montoya struggling a bit more for grip? The McLaren's certainly looking good behind him.
Well, Montoya worked his car extremely hard in those laps when he was ahead of Michael Schumacher. Raikkonen's had clear air to run. He's not had any pressure. But, you know, getting these two guys together, it's a bit like the difference between a rock and a hard place. Neither's going to give way, but both are determined to make sure they can get that second place.
Let's just remind you, David Coulthard is running still behind this group. He's 4.3 seconds behind his teammate here, Kimi Räikkönen.
And Coulthard, in fact, running marginally quicker than Räikkönen, but it's going to take him a long time, maybe another 5-6 laps, if the situations, as we're looking at, remain stationary.
Well, you can see Montoya still pushing very hard indeed. That Williams is leaping around all over the place as he tries to stay ahead of Räikkönen. And there, Michael Schumacher, our race leader. Look at the gap back already there to Montoya and Räikkönen.
Well, Michael Schumacher got a clear road. He can now run at the car's full potential. He wasn't able to do that when he was behind both Coulthard and Montoya. But now the Ferrari, it's quick in a lap, but it's certainly vulnerable in straight line speed in this circuit.
A new fastest lap to Michael Schumacher. and these two guys are quite a long way off that, there's no doubt about it. A 30.1 for Michael Schumacher. Eddie Irvine has come up into 5th place. Well, he's in 5th place, but there's a problem there.
That's Pedro de la Rosa, so you can hear is a misfire. So he'll be into the pits and see whether there's a cure for that or whether there's going to be a terminal stop.
So Irvine has just crossed the line in 5th place, now crossing the line in 6th position. With de la Rosa in trouble, there's some going to be a change there as Webber has just gone over the line in 6th place now. De la Rosa dropping down the order.
Black flag for leaving the pits when the red light was on. That was the reason why Frentzen was in trouble, and that is a pretty serious offence.
That is a great shame, and it's a black flag as opposed to a penalty, is it, John? Are they actually going to make him stop, or is he going to have to...
It's over. It's over. It's finished.
Black flag.
He's out.
In the pits with the red lights on.
That's disqualification.
Well, that's a great shame for the team. It's all over for Heinz-Harald Frentzen. That's all over for so many drivers in this race. But remember, Bernoldi...
You wanted to come in? Yeah, you've got a black flag, I'm afraid. Game over.
Poor Heinz-Harald won't like the sound of that.
Well, one can only say that when the red light's on, it says stop. When the green light's on, it says go. And I'm sure Heinz-Harald can detect the difference between red and green. If he can't, he shouldn't be out there.
And he's one of the most experienced drivers out there. Now, the investigation on the other Arrows car 21, which is back out there. Bernoldi was stranded on the grid, remember, and then rejoined the race. And I wonder if there might be some irregular... I wondered, actually, how he managed to get away with that, but I didn't quite see the full sequence of events. We'll find out whether the stewards are going to chuck out the other Arrows as well.
Well, let's look back and see if we can find something. This is Frentzen, I think, coming out of the pits when the lights were red. But looking at Bernoldi, I don't see anything of there. It may be that Bernoldi, because the car was pushed off the grid and something to do with it, I need to go through the rule book and check that one out.
Well, let's see what's happening up front. Michael Schumacher, 6.2 seconds his lead now over Montoya. Montoya just a fraction ahead there of Kimi Räikkönen still. The battle for second, third, there they are going through the picture now. And Coulthard is closing up because Montoya is not able to go so quickly. Coulthard's closing up.
Indeed it is. What's happening is Räikkönen can't get close enough to have a go at Montoya. And Räikkönen's pace is being dictated by that of Juan Pablo Montoya. So it may well be we could see, I don't know what the strategy is, no one has given anything away. Ordinarily, most teams would opt for a long first session, and then if they want to alter their strategy, do a very short dash to a second stop, we have to wait. But certainly Montoya is losing time in corners. Räikkönen is sitting there, not able to get close enough to launch an attack onto the Colombian. In the meantime, Coulthard is closing down by the lap. He's down to 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, it's getting closer and closer. Frentzen's race is all over, though, as he clambers out of the Arrows. The end of a very strange afternoon for him, and that's just disappointing. But for so many teams, for so many drivers here this afternoon, travelling thousands and thousands of miles, John, to compete at the first round of the championship. And we've lost so many from this race. Is that still De La Rosa cruising around slowly?
It looks like De La Rosa, can't really tell, it's just a little bit far away. But whoever it was, certainly getting well and truly out of the way, and I think it probably is De La Rosa at the speed he's running. That car has a misfire, and it's all around the circuit.
I don't think it's going to last that much longer. Here comes Montoya, followed by Räikkönen. Just to remind you of the cars that are no longer in this race: Jarno Trulli, Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher, Fisichella, Felipe Massa, Nick Heidfeld, Jenson Button, Olivier Panis and Alan McNish. Nearly all of those taken out in the first corner accident at the start of this event. Comparison of the lap times and the gaps here of Kimi Räikkönen and David Coulthard, but Coulthard certainly being given an opportunity to close up because Montoya can't quite match their pace.
No, he's taking lumps out of Kimi Räikkönen and Montoya, and the gap, as we saw prior lap, was 3.5 seconds. As Coulthard comes out of exit turn 16, we'll check and see how much he's gained. It probably may be down to about 3.1. Stays at 3.5. Surprisingly, maybe Coulthard's just pushed that bit too hard as well, and he's now beginning to suffer a little bit of tyre degradation, a little bit of loss of grip.
Tom Walkinshaw on the left, speaking to Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and perhaps still an opportunity, John, to learn a little bit about the car from today's events.
Well, they would have learned something, but of course it's disappointing, and I'm sure Tom speaks the same English as anybody else in Formula One does, and he will say, why did you not stop at the lights?
Yeah, absolutely. For a driver of Frenson's experience, it is a very strange mistake to make, but in the excitement of the moment, perhaps not aware that the lights were on red. Here is Montoya, our second place man. Kimi Räikkönen in third. You know, it's easy to forget, John, that Räikkönen's in only his second season of Grand Prix racing, his debut for the McLaren Mercedes team. He looks like he's been running up front in Grand Prix for years.
Well, he looked like that at the Grand Prix here last year. I felt he was so confident, so mature. And again, talking to the McLaren team, I mean, they call him the Iceman. They thought Mika Häkkinen was cool. He's so cool, he's called the Iceman. And they believe he is a world champion even this year.
Well, look at that.
Not that one.
Well, that was a bit of a moment. Let's just watch him through these final couple of turns on the lap. Bit smoother through the left-hander. But definitely lost a bit of ground through that previous corner.
Yes, he did. It's just trying to look at the tyres to see if there's any sign of that feathering you get on the tyre surface, the tread, where it starts to roll across the tyre. There's nothing that's desperately obvious about it. You can't see any change. Sometimes you see a change of colour. Coulthard off again. David Coulthard. I tell you, you're going to get snapped legs and sent to bed with any tea tonight for what you're doing today.
Same corner as well, John. It's that turn 15. It is not working out for him. Yesterday in qualifying, he encountered Jacques Villeneuve there and got off the track and spun and touched the wall. Now, what did he do this time?
Well, he just did the same thing effectively, but without locking up the inside brake. I mean, what is going on? I mean, I would love to see David Coulthard and Ron Dennis after this race.
Well, we'll have to find out, perhaps. I mean, we could always, perhaps there is a problem with the braking on that car. Perhaps he is suffering some sort of brake balance.
He's got a problem, certainly. You can see he's suddenly slowed right down. Now, whether that's the cause of the problems, maybe there's something in the gear shift that's causing him to overrun the corner. It could well be that the downshifts that we've seen Sato have a problem with on the Jordan on Saturday. Maybe there's something similar in the gearbox of Coulthard's. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh and unkind on David Coulthard at this point.
Well, maybe we'll find out soon. It does look, though, as though...
He's going into the pits at that speed. His day's over, I reckon.
It's all over for David Coulthard. That's a great disappointment. He looked so well placed after that initial accident. He was out in front. He pulled away dramatically from those behind. He'd opened up a 6.6 second advantage at one point. Then the safety car came out, and it was on the restart after the safety car that he went off. He locked a brake as he began to build up speed, and maybe there was some problem with the car developing there already. Then he was able to put in some very quick laps as he caught up, but something has gone seriously wrong, and Eddie Irvine just trying to sneak through now with Mika Salo in the Toyota behind.
Yes, Mika Salo is a lap down. He's running in 9th place, but Eddie Irvine is now up into 4th place. I mean, Eddie Irvine won the Grand Prix here in 1999 in a car that was a winning car, but suddenly from 19th in the grid to 4th, even Eddie, in his most optimistic frame of mind, couldn't have believed this.
David stayed out there. That's interesting. We expected him to be coming in at the end of this lap.
Well, he will be in contact with the team, and if it's maybe simply a problem with the systems, he's got a backup system in the car. They've been telling him what to do, which buttons to push, which sequence to push them in. That may be, I suspect it has been a downshift gear change problem, and they've got a secondary backup system which they can activate.
Now, of course, this year, John, that's very relevant because there's a slight change in the rules in that the teams are allowed to transfer data and information from pits to car in a slightly different way to previous years.
Yes, the regulations allow ship to shore both ways, so maybe the team have been able to recognise the problem and certainly alert Coulthard to what to do, or whether they can physically do it in the pits. Well, I wouldn't be quite sure. It depends on the particular problem that Coulthard has suffered from. But in the meantime, Michael Schumacher has opened that gap up. It was 13.8 seconds. He's done a lap in the 1:29s already, and he's up and gone.
He is disappearing up the road now, isn't he? Looking for a hat-trick of victories here in Melbourne. 34 laps to go still. 24 laps have been completed. So we're still some way short of half distance, but he has opened up a very healthy 14.5 second lead.
And isn't it ironic that the reason he's got this healthy lead is because of his little brother getting it so wrong into the first corner on the opening lap.
Black flag for the other Arrows. It's all over for the team for using the spare car after the start of the race. So he obviously switched cars, Bernaldi, and you're not allowed to do that once the race is underway. You would be able to do it if the race had been red flagged, but it wasn't, and so Bernaldi also has now been black flagged.
Well, that's what we anticipated the case to be. But now Michael Schumacher with a healthy 14.5-second lead. He will build up an advantage possibly to the length of time it takes to enter the pit lane, stop and do a regular pit stop and get back out. That will be the instruction he's going to get from Ross Brawn on the pit wall to give themselves that margin, that cushion, in case when Michael makes what I suspect will be his one and only stop of the day, in case there's a problem.
Well, just going through the picture there was Mark Webber, well up into the points now. He's in 6th position. Oh, what an amazing result that would be. I mean, it's too early to say it really, because there's such a long way to go in this race. First Grand Prix of the year. Mechanical woes are always such a strong possibility, but you have to hand it to them, you know. They've got this Minardi out. Paul Stoddart got Minardi together really just in time at the beginning of last year. A bit more investment this year.
They've got Jacques Villeneuve behind, he's 9.3 seconds behind. And, well, in fact, strangely, there's only about 3/4 of a second advantage to Villeneuve over Mark Webber. And, you know, Villeneuve, if he wants to get that final 1 position, 1 point, is going to have to do some hard work.
He is, but Webber's just taken 5th position from David Coulthard. And the Australian flags are waving around the track, and I can't believe that Webber knows quite what's going on here.
Well, what a dream debut for Mark Webber in his home country. In Australia, well, he's... And also the Minardi team, if they could just get that one single point. They didn't get it last year. To get one here would be the most emotional point I think Paul Stoddart and Mark Webber will ever score in their lives.
The team owned by Melbourne businessman Paul Stoddart. They've been doing all sorts of PR this week. Let's just watch Mark Webber for a moment.
They're staying clear of the curves, not taking any risks or chances. Just clips it, doesn't ride the curve as you've seen others near to the front.
And there's plenty of delight at the side of him now, moving up into 5th position.
The diggers certainly love Mark Webber here this afternoon.
Well, I'm delighted to see him enjoying this opportunity at the top level of the sport. A very professional young man, very serious about his motor racing and very talented as well. Now then, what's going on here? Raikkonen still putting the pressure on Montoya for second, as our race leader, Michael Schumacher, now enjoys an advantage of 17.5 seconds.
Well, all Michael Schumacher has to do is just maintain the rhythm he's in. It's very comfortable for him. He's now lapping in the high 1:29s. He's got a rhythm. There's not much traffic on the circuit. We've lost so many cars on that first lap, so he's not going to find himself being distracted by coming up to slower cars to lap them. And sometimes you get those cars in bunches having their own battle. That disturbs the driver's rhythm. For Michael right now, really, he's been here so often, well, 53 times in his career to date. This could easily be number 54.
It could well be a start to his chase for a 5th world title, and to match that score of Juan Manuel Fangio. It would be a dream start to the season, but boy, he's had to fight for it in the early stages of this race. Let's just remind you what happened at the beginning of the race. A huge accident when Ralf Schumacher went over the back of Pole Sitter Rubens Barrichello, and that initiated a massive pile-up into the first corner. Coulthard there still struggling around in the McLaren, but he's dropping time all the way around the lap. But to come back to that accident, it took out a huge number of cars. Barrichello himself and Ralf Schumacher, of course. Also Fisichella, Massa, Heidfeld, Button, Panis and Alan McNish. And then we've been seeing some great racing since then.
And David Coulthard has just gone 1 lap down to race leader Michael Schumacher. But the McLaren team have taken the position. It's not a terminal problem with the car, David Coulthard. Stay out with reliability and attrition. We could still be in for a result. We could still get a single point or possibly more. So just keep running.
Yes, and the team no doubt still working hard to see if they can make a difference from in the pits. What's just right on board with Michael for a moment on the fast section of track through the left-hander at 11 and 12 coming up.
That's on your screen, that blue bar, that is an indication to the car ahead that there's a leading car coming up, or a faster car in this case, and leading. So let him go through, and that, we think, was Jacques Villeneuve.
Yep, that was Jacques moving out of the way of the Ferrari that's leading this race. And Michael Schumacher now really beginning to dominate proceedings. Watch the rev counter on the left-hand side of the picture there as the engine revs increase. Most of these engines revving up to around 18,000 revs per minute and producing around about the 850 brake horsepower mark.
At the end of this lap, we will be exactly at half distance of this 58-lap race. So clearly, the strategy that Ferrari were adopting was a single stop strategy. But still, this battle for second place, Montoya consolidating. Raikkonen unable to mount a challenge. Of course, David Coulthard, who was catching Raikkonen, has got a mechanical problem. That was really, I think, what happened to him. Certainly that second occasion in turn 15, it was not a driver error. It was caused by some mechanical malfunction, I suspect, in the gearbox strategy, the hydraulics, or something controlling the gear change upshift and downshift.
On board with Kimi Raikkonen now on the bottom part of the circuit through the right-hander at turn 5 beneath the trees, and then up towards turn 6 and past the marina here through the quick left-hander. This is a pretty fast right-hander, Lauda corner, which builds up the speed as they approach the right-left. It's a chicane in many ways. Second gear through the first part, about 60 miles an hour, building up, and they're getting up to about 190 miles an hour here. Oh!
Jacques Villeneuve has gone off. A big shunt for Jacques Villeneuve. That's in turn 11, just before you swing back to turn 12. Jacques Villeneuve, heavy shunt front and rear of the car. Certainly the wings are off the car. The wheels are all attached. That's still a great sign. The double tethers that have been attached to the cars this year, they've been increased in strength. Villeneuve steps out of the car. He will be disappointed. Easy peasy points for BAR and their former team boss Craig Pollock. His face, we've seen that look on his face on many occasions over the last 3 years. How did he get there from turn 11?
Well, presumably it went wrong on the way into the corner, but that's a strange accident indeed. And we'll have to wait and see if we've got a replay of that. The yellow flag's out, the rear wing off, and let's hope there wasn't a problem. He did suffer a rear wing failure here in the past, but I would, well, let's wait and see before we make any verdict on that.
Well, you can see the skid mark, something suddenly let go. I think if it had been the rear wing, it might have been a little bit further than just there, but suddenly he lost control on approach to turn 11, and there you see the skid marks on the track, and that's why he went to that unusual position. I've never seen a car on that part of the circuit or off that part of the circuit before.
Michael Schumacher won't be too badly affected by this as long as he's aware that the yellow flags are flying. He sees those and gets through safely. Let's see what we can spot here.
Well, we see the car spinning, but we don't really get to see if the wing was attached or not.
I don't think it was. I think that the rear wing was already off the car. I think perhaps it did come off.
Well, it was a repeat of what happened here in the maiden debut of the BAR team, virtually at the same part of track. Well, I don't know where Jacques will rate that in his thrill levels, but normally he's got a pretty high one, and well, he'd probably say that was about 4 out of 10, I think, by his standards.
Well, he's making his way back. He's perfectly all right, but that's the end of BAR's team now. We've lost a complete team there as well because Olivier Panis was involved in the first corner accident, and now Villeneuve goes out with what looks to us like a suspected.
Also allows Eddie Irvine time to breathe because he's got Mark Webber behind him, but Mark Webber's 22.7 seconds away and not likely to threaten Eddie Irvine and Jaguar. And I mean, Eddie's such a good race driver. He now knows what his job is, that is to bring Jaguar home and maximize the points opportunity. And you never know, he could even have a podium. I mean, it's unbelievable to think starting 19th you could actually get a podium.
It is amazing to think that.
Let's say in modern times, Ben.
Yes, in modern times, but I mean, we might expect a number of retirements in the first Grand Prix of the year. I don't think we expected to see quite so many cars go out, but not through mechanical retirements this time, through accident, damage and being off the track as a result of that first corner accident right at the start of things. Well, Mark Webber still going.
Michael Schumacher, for some unexplained reason, had a relatively slow lap by his standards. Well, one of those.
It's Mark Webber.
Yes,
there seems to be a little bit of concern there from Paul Stoddart, although he looks as though he is at speed. Looks all right through that section of the track. Just seemed to be a bit of tension to me on that pit wall for Minardi, so perhaps keep a close eye on the progress of this car.
So another yellow flag situation, but that's really still waiting for Villeneuve for the wing to be cleared away. That's out at the entry to turn 11. So still a localized yellow flag at that part of track, and it's incumbent upon drivers to slow down. Now that's a relative term, slow down. No one's ever defined it precisely, but I tell you what, if you don't slow down enough, you will know all about it because you'll be brought in and penalised.
Yes, they'll watch those sector times, and if you've put in your personal best time of the race so far in the yellow, they will not take that too kindly, and they'll give you a penalty as a result. Our top three, as you can see from the graphics, Schumacher now 19.4 seconds ahead of Montoya, but Montoya still has that McLaren Mercedes of Kimi Räikkönen breathing down his neck.
The gap's been hovering around the second barrier, 1.1 at the minute.
And it does look as though everybody going for that single stop. We've seen that in recent years here in Melbourne. Most people going for the one stop, and quite often going quite a long way beyond the half distance point. We're coming up to that half distance point soon now. You may well see the cars go quite a long way beyond that before they make their stop.
Well, it's interesting that the mathematics say the two-stop strategy is the quicker strategy, but that's only if you're on the racetrack by yourself. It doesn't take into account the 21 other cars that ought to be on the racetrack as well. Sadly, here today we've lost a lot of cars in that that first lap shunt in the first corner, but other cars have fallen by the wayside for reasons of irregularity. Frentzen going through the red light, Bernoulli jumping into the spare car after the race had commenced. So a lot of errors and a lot of rule books needing researching and rethinking. But Michael Schumacher now into the 1 minute 28.6. The lap that he suddenly lost time on, I suspect, was because he did the honourable thing when he saw the yellow lights and yellow flags. He actually did slow down to be sure there wasn't something of danger above and beyond what most racing drivers interpret a yellow light or flag to mean.
He's getting perilously close to breaking his own lap record at a 1:28.214 from last year. He's about 4/10 of a second off his existing lap record, and I think that will certainly be gone before the end of this race. Meanwhile, Montoya has a 2.3 second advantage over Kimi Räikkönen.
Yeah, that's stretched by, well, 1.2 seconds on the previous lap. Räikkönen dropped back now. May have been a little error we haven't had a chance to see, or maybe he's now beginning to suffer a mechanical problem such as has afflicted David Coulthard.
Certainly sliding quite a lot through that final right-hander, coming around past the marina. The BM Williams team looking very relaxed, and Coulthard's off again.
And the same part of the circuit as well.
Yeah, but it has to be a problem up at that part of the track. There's no way that David would be going off making a mistake like that, and we've seen him struggling around the last few laps. He's still running in 7th place, and De La Rosa is still running. He's down in 9th position, but because so few cars are running, they're all deciding to stay out there no matter how sick they are.
And Mika Salo, he's a lap down, but he's about to pass David Coulthard to take 7th place away from the Scotsman. And then he's got young Alex Young ahead of him, so it'll be, well, Toyota, of course, laying up for their single stop of the day. And the focus of Toyota will be to try and run down Alex Young. Again, you see the McLaren just seemingly being pushed forward. Now, whether that's a throttle problem or whether it's a gear change problem, we'll only know after the race. But 3 times now in this race, David Coulthard has been off at turn 15.
Oh, it's turned into a terribly disappointing day for David Coulthard. It started so well. He got up in front at that initial start and opened up such a big advantage, but it's all gone wrong for him really since that safety car closed up the gap, and then on the restart that problem started and it sent him off onto the grass. Now, we saw the Toyota team getting ready for Mika Salo to be coming in. New experience for Toyota, John. They've got to get used to the heat of competition, making pit stops in the middle of a Grand Prix.
They've done it in sports car racing. They've done Le Mans, they've done all sorts of sports car racing all around the world. There is pressure in that, but doing it in a Formula 1 Grand Prix, it is a choreographed ballet. That's how I think about it. You've got about 20 people all interacting, all having to have a sixth sense, knowing what their teammates are going to do, and if one gets it wrong, then the whole process just crumbles.
Well, we'll see how they get on in a minute. Montoya is coming up to lap Mark Webber here, and that shouldn't cause too much of a problem, but he's got to be aware of Räikkönen behind. Here come the Toyota's first stop, then Mika Salo into the pits. 3 guys on each corner as the fuel goes on. 12.5 litres per second flowing into the tank. Salo does a good job, professional job from the team, and away he goes.
Well, I was just worried about Mika Salo, Mark Webber. He's gone past, I suspect, more than 3 blue flags, and he might have to get a little set of talking to, maybe a quick little pit stop, 10-second stop, go penalty. When he saw that blue flag, he should recognise the car behind him is a car in second, or certainly a leading car, and at the earliest convenience, let him go through. And I think maybe Mark Webber didn't do that as well as he could have done. There were opportunities into 14 and 15 to let Montoya go through.
Schumacher continues on his untroubled way, hasn't stopped as yet, just going past Eddie Irvine there, lapping Irvine, but Irvine still going in 4th position and looking to gain some points for Jaguar. What a relief that would be to them. Kimi Raikkonen, meanwhile, laps Mark Webber. The gap between Montoya and Raikkonen, 2.4 seconds last time around. Seems to have things under control, but whatever lost him that initial time from Montoya, he doesn't seem to be able to put a quick lap in again to regain it.
Ben, it's the first time Kimi Raikkonen has been in a position to challenge for a top 3 position on merit. And I just wonder, is he just realising that suddenly when you're in a leading team like McLaren, Mercedes-Benz, is there something additional to just being a Grand Prix driver? When you're doing it in a team like Sauber, which is not considered a front-running team, whatever you do is a bonus. Now there's the expectation, and I just wonder, is it just maybe he's finding it himself? This is a little bit tougher than I imagined.
Well, as we've seen, often the second year is the tough year, no matter how talented you are, and that's what Raikkonen is going to have to deal with. But he's on target here today for his first ever podium finish, and I think that actually both he and the team would be delighted with that. Let's just sit back a moment and watch Michael Schumacher at work. Oh, and David is struggling with this car, and it looks as though it might actually all be over this time.
Yes, David Coulthard going to pull off track down at turn 4. The yellow flags are out as we wait to see one of the two Minardis make their pit stop.
Yeah, they are both running. They're one of the few teams that have got both their cars still running. You can see there at turn number 3 as well, or turn 4 really, that David has come to a stop. Alex Young, though, and Mark Webber still both running for Minardi. In fact, they're both in possible point-scoring positions.
You'd have thought David could have pulled the car off rather than doing that. I mean, having the track marshals go out on track, it is a yellow flag zone, so the car now getting pushed to safety. I suppose possibly with so few cars on the track, it maybe mightn't have been such a big issue, but I hate seeing a car static on a racetrack when there's an active circuit in use.
36 laps have been completed then, and here comes Michael Schumacher. He'll just about to be going past that stricken McLaren of David Coulthard, and there it is, just to the left from that onboard camera. Irvine comes through safely as well, but it is all over for the Scotsman, and that is a great shame.
And David is putting the steering wheel back on. That is also a finable offence if you don't do so. But now the Williams team getting into the pit lane as we see Mark Webber come in for his one and only stop of the day.
Well, let's hope that they get this under control. Mark's certainly doing a good job of stopping it in the right place. There is a little bit of a delay though here, John. Something has gone wrong. I think it's, well, I can't quite see what the problem is. I think it's with the fuel flap or something like that. A very strange looking problem. Everyone looking very concerned, trying to sort it out. The fuel is going on board now, I think. They've got it cleanly done, and eventually Mark's able to get away, is he? Yes, he is. Oh dear, that was not what he needed at all. And poor Mark Webber losing a huge amount of time in the pit lane.
And in the pit lane now is also Jacques Villeneuve. He's been talking to the reporters and did confirm, Ben, as you suspected correctly, that there was a rear wing failure. The wing came off. That threw Jacques Villeneuve into that spin and harmlessly came to a halt. And well, Jacques takes it very much in his stride. He's been there before, hasn't he?
He has been there before, but you know, it shouldn't happen. Somebody coming into the pits there.
But Ben, just while we're talking, Raikkonen has done the quickest time. Juan Pablo Montoya, but Raikkonen suddenly is the quickest lap of the day. He won 28.541. Suddenly, somebody's knocked him on the head and said, "Sunshine, wake up! You've got a job to do."
Now Montoya got very sideways coming into the pits in his anxiety to be as quick as possible. A good stop, 10.1 seconds, and Montoya's on his way.
Fresh tyres, enough fuel for race distance. Remember to stay to the right of that. Don't cross that line, because that'll be again an offence. But I don't know what's Kimi Raikkonen suddenly done.
So 84 litres put in and fueled for 20 laps. Well, that should give him just the right amount of fuel to get to the end of this 58-lap event. And they'll be keeping a close eye on that fuel consumption. It's Ferrari that we'll be watching now. 28.541, as you said, for Kimi Raikkonen. Great lap from the McLaren driver.
But why? Why suddenly do a lap like that as Michael Schumacher now makes his one and only, oops, I was going to say trip onto the grass, trip into the pit lane. Michael practices this all the time. He maximises, and the McLaren also now laying out for Kimi Räikkönen. But Michael Schumacher, through practice particularly, maximises every fraction of a second on the entry into a circuit, into the pit lane. You can't do anything until you get to the pit lane exit before you get back on the throttle. 10.1 seconds was the time for Montoya. Let's see Ferrari, notoriously quick in the pit lane.
And under no pressure, really, are they? Away they go, 10.5 seconds.
4/10 doesn't really matter. Kimi Räikkönen now makes his way down. You can, somebody's going to say someday that is not Kimi Räikkönen. So like Mika Häkkinen.
It is so like Mika Häkkinen. It is amazing to watch the transformation, the results so far.
From the front brakes, blue smoke coming off the front brakes. 10.3, well, 10.6, there was slight hesitation just as the car came off the jacks. Eddie Irvine makes his way out as well.
Now, where is Montoya? There is Montoya, and this could be a change, but Montoya with tyres warmed up, and Räikkönen's gone wide.
He's lost it.
Oh dear, he was aware, I'm sure, that Montoya was coming.
He was aware, and I was aware as well, and I knew that he was on the wrong part of the track to try and take the corner at the speed he was carrying. The inside of the track, of course, still dirty and green. Montoya on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side of the track, on the racing line, and he had the advantage. Kimi made a fundamental error. He'll learn. I don't think you see him make that one again in the future.
But that's all.
Oh, very wide on the exit of 5. Hey, look, watch and see what happens. He's got too much speed. The back end under braking slips away. He's got no choice but to go across the grass, and he just thinks, oh, I had second place, and I've just blown it.
I don't think he really had it, though. He didn't have quite enough of an edge over Montoya. Even if he'd made it through 1 and 2, I think the momentum would have carried Montoya.
Believe me, the Iceman would have made life difficult for Juan Pablo Montoya. Mark Webber.
No, this is Alex Young, isn't it? His teammate now coming into the pits, the Malaysian driver. And, well, he's doing a good job so far. He finished 1 of the 3 races he entered last year. That was down in 16th. Ooh, Alex.
Sounded like he wasn't in first gear getting away there.
Okay, you P6, you P6.
Unbelievable, both Minardis in the points, 5th and 6th. If they retain those 2 positions, they'll walk away from here with 3 points.
3 points, and how valuable is that, John, in terms of, we never know how all the finances of Formula One work in detail, but that's going to be very valuable indeed to a small team.
I guarantee you one thing, Paul Stoddard on the pit lane is working it out right now.
I'm sure he is. He's got his calculator down there, and it'll make a huge difference to a small team like that to score points at the start of the season. But here's the man who we've got so used to scoring maximum points time after time after time. 53 wins to his credit already, breaking records every season now, and looking to start this season in the best possible way.
Montoya putting another lap on Mika Salo behind Mark Webber, so that battle between Webber, Salo currently in 7th place. He's 2 laps down. Webber in 5th place, 1 lap down.
You know, Webber lost all that time in the pits, John, but he has maintained that 5th position, so that's good news for him because he was sitting in that pit lane for a long time.
Yes, he was, but also he's 22 seconds ahead of his teammate Alex Young, so there isn't going to be any pressure. But as Kimi Räikkönen comes up and passes Mark Webber, this time Webber backs off, lets Räikkönen go through. There is a rule that if you go past 3 blue flag stations, you will be brought in.
Webber in his first ever Grand Prix, perhaps feeling the strain at some point as we go through the latter stages of this race. But of course, Mark did an awful lot of testing for Benetton last year, didn't he, John? And I don't think that he's really going to be in any difficulty fitness-wise in this race.
No, and he's been through a very extreme fitness training course over the winter time with, in fact, because he was with Benetton Knee Renault today, he's had use of the facilities at Enstone. So he's had pretty scientific physical training, and well, he rode from John O'Groats to Land's End on a bicycle. Didn't quite do it in a day, it took him 10 days, but nonetheless a pretty fine achievement, and it was done for charity as well.
Well, that's great news. Paul Stoddart there keeping an eye on the progress of his 2 cars, and well, it's the only team boss who's got 2 cars still running in this race. It's quite an achievement.
But Ben, let's get into the realms of speculation, because Kimi Räikkönen, remember, made a pit stop early at the end of the first lap because he had a damaged nose. What would have happened if Räikkönen hadn't had that damaged nose? would he be ahead of Montoya, or would the situation still essentially remain the same?
Yeah, it's a good point, John. He was involved with a little bit of damage in that first lap accident, and it could have been a different story.
Well, that's as much emotion you're going to see in Ron Dennis's face as David Coulthard explains what went wrong. The first one where he locked a brake, I have to think was down to the driver, but the remaining two, I would say, were purely mechanically responsible.
On board with Kimi here, and things seem to be going well for him at the moment. And of course we saw that fastest lap from Kimi Räikkönen just before the pit stop. Well, that has been eclipsed slightly now, but a very impressive lap it was. The question is, of course, can he maintain that sort of pace throughout a race? That's what Michael Schumacher always does.
Yes, it is, and it's that consistency that has enabled Schumacher to be statistically the most successful driver in Formula One history, and could go on to be considered the greatest ever. And if he keeps winning races and winning championships, who's to deny him that title?
Yeah, well, that's the big question. You have to say that on today's performances, it looks like Ferrari do have the edge over Williams BMW, certainly here in Melbourne. It may be a different story elsewhere.
And Räikkönen getting so wide coming out of turn 5. That curb, if you drop a wheel off it onto the grass, you will turn sharp right, and that will be the end of your race, and you'll probably have a pair of sore knees as well.
There's Montoya just lapping Irvine. Montoya still running in second place, remember, and the gap between our top two, Michael Schumacher and Montoya, up to 24.7 seconds. And then the gap between Montoya and Räikkönen, as you can see on the split, 3.3.
Ben, let's think back. When we saw Räikkönen come into the pitch, there was something about the seatbelts, there was something bothering him. I wonder, whatever that problem is, was it not rectified? And in fact, is that what's causing him problems, such as maybe his seatbelts are not as tightly secured as they need to be, maybe he's not as comfortable in the seat. There's something certainly enabled him to do one very quick lap, but he hasn't been able to push as hard consistently to match that one very fast lap.
Well, see the correction mid-corner there. There's great view from the onboard camera. He's on the start-finish straight, if you're wondering whereabouts on the track he is. Let's watch him through the first two corners. Quick glance in the mirror as he heads down towards turn 3.
And that's nearly 180 miles an hour before he gets on the brakes. Very late to turn into turn 3.
The sound of that Mercedes V10 engine working very hard indeed. The automatic gearbox, those crisp gear changes up and down through the box. The sight and the sound of Formula One.
Well, Eddie Irvine makes his way around. He's one lap down, but he must be a happy man as well. The thought of 3 points in his first Grand Prix in a car which couldn't qualify higher than 19th will bring some compensation to the hard work everybody in Jaguar, and those guys have been on their knees trying to get a car just to be in a Grand Prix, let alone to be competitive. Alex Young gets it all wrong down at turn 3.
But he gets away with it. That's good news.
Stays in the points.
Two Minardis are still there for the moment.
In fact, he's not. He's dropped out. Mika Salo has now taken that 6th place away from Alex Young.
Now that means that Toyota now possibly with a chance of scoring points on their debut. Now that would be one big story indeed. Mika Salo, the remaining Toyota driver in this race. Toyota spending all of last year testing. Mika Salo and Alan McNish doing lots of hard work, thousands of kilometres of testing. And now Salo's got the car up into 6th position.
Well, I think it's very worrying for everybody in Formula One that Toyota can come in. They've done it in a low-key manner, but they can run relatively competitively. We've seen reliability, very strong reliability from the Toyota team. And if this is what they're doing at the beginning of their Formula One term, well, give them time. They're going to be challenging these people. Ferrari, give it 3 years, watch and see.
Well, it'll be fascinating to watch the progress of Toyota, run by Ove Anderson. And of course, like Ferrari, they not only build the engine, they build the chassis, they do the whole thing at their base in Cologne. They're not in the UK, which is often thought to be the centre of race car manufacturing. It is the centre of race car manufacturing, but they've decided to make their base in Cologne, and Toyota trying to take on Ferrari at their own game, building the whole car, all the equipment, and going racing.
I think one of the reasons they chose not to come to the UK is because there is a sort of a little cartel of Formula One teams in the United Kingdom based around the Thames Valley, and McLaren, of course, down in Woking and Surrey. And they wanted to build a team that was not going to have people sort of flitting from team to team to team to team. They chose to do something quite different. Some drivers criticise them for doing it. Well, that's the sort of decision that they make. They have not made a mistake in doing so. They've got a fine team of engineers, mechanics, and the driver's not done a bad job either.
No, Mika Salo is the driver, and of course he has plenty of Grand Prix experience. He didn't race during the 2001 season, as he spent that time testing for Toyota, but he made his debut way back in 1994 at Suzuka, driving for Lotus, and then went on to race for the Tyrrell team for several seasons, raced with Arrows, with BAR, stood in at Ferrari for a few races in 1999, and then drove for the Sauber team in 2000. Lots of experience for Mika Salo.
But let's just put this into perspective. Mika Salo lapping 1 minute 35.0. Michael Schumacher lapping in 1:30.3, 4.7 seconds. And that is a bunch of time.
It is indeed. Ove Anderson was the man in the middle there, the boss of the Toyota outfit. Comes from the world of rallying and ran the very successful Toyota Rally team. Now running Formula One as Eddie Irvine makes his pit stop. Sorry, Pedro de la Rosa coming? Yes, sorry.
Yes, it is. De La Rosa's in for his second pit stop. So whether it was a problem or whether it was a strategy, Jaguar may well have chosen to do something a little bit different, because when you're so far down the grid, you might as well have a go. It's the only way you're going to get up through the field. But of course, with what took place on the opening lap, that whole strategy was completely thrown out the door.
I have to say, I have to apologise to Jaguar, because I've been saying that Minardi is the only ones running two cars. Of course, De La Rosa's still going. He's been struggling. They have got a problem with that car, but they've still got the two Jags out there. They are both still running. He's down in 8th position, so my apologies to Jaguar. You've got your two cars there just like Minardi.
Yes, unfortunately for Pedro, he's 5 laps down. And he's 2 laps down at Alex Young, who's in 7th place. So Pedro de la Rosa, he's staying out. You never know what happens. It can be last-minute reliability problems, driver fatigue, driver errors. You've got to, if you can hang in, do so, because you still can pick up points. And these flyaway races, the ones that are outside of the European continent, are always, and in the early season ones particularly, they're there. Points are up for grabs. Once you get into Europe, people get into the rhythm and stride. It becomes very difficult to beat the top 3 teams to get any points at all.
John, look, the sun's coming out at last. You know, the colours change completely here in Australia. It's so fantastic to see. This is more like it. This is the Melbourne we know and love. The sunshine, the colours, the heat haze are really beginning to show. That's what we're used to, and it's great to see it now.
Well, there are 12 laps to go. Michael Schumacher, having completed 46, starting his 47th lap.
Ferrari team keeping a close eye on those monitors, a whole bank of monitors to keep an eye on times, on track position, and of course back in the garage, a host of computers as well to monitor everything that's going on in the car, in the engine, in the systems that are now such an important part of the performance of a modern Formula One car. Our second place man is Juan Pablo Montoya, just going through the picture. Third, there he is, Kimi Räikkönen, certainly stepping into Mika Häkkinen's shoes well. And that was, well, I don't think Mika Häkkinen would have done that with 12 laps to go, I have to say.
But Kimi Räikkönen's running at this point on this last lap about 0.7 to 0.8 of a second quicker than Juan Pablo Montoya. Maybe Montoya's had a little bit of a dream and a bit of a sleep. 31.7 the last lap. Montoya 30.652 for Räikkönen. So Räikkönen again on a charge, and I just wonder whether it is to do with that situation we saw with the seatbelt, something in the car he was uncomfortable with. Maybe it is fatigue, a combination of factors. Maybe it's just something with the car, temperature related.
Let's take a look at this. Was where he made a mistake just now.
Yeah, he came into the corner, over around the corner, had to correct, got it all sorted out. I mean, the guy's got reactions. Look at that. He doesn't mind letting the back of the car drift around. A lot of drivers are uncomfortable with that. Like all Finns I've seen in the racetrack, they like a car that is quite easy, loose in the rear, and they only want the front to be stuck. They'll deal with the back their own way.
Yeah, certainly great reactions, great car control from Kimi Räikkönen, and maintaining the honour of Finnish drivers in Formula One. Of course, Mika Salo, the other Finn in this race, with plenty more experience than Räikkönen, and driving for the Toyota team. But Raikkonen, let's watch this next lap. The gap between Montoya and Kimi, 4.8 seconds last time around, but Montoya's put in a better lap this time.
He's picked up the pace, 30.9. Raikkonen 32 points, so lost a bunch of time because of that error in turn one. All that hard work to claw back half a second here, 0.2 there. It's all been blown by just being over exuberant into turn one. Can you blame him? He's only a kid. Exactly.
He's only just starting his second season of Formula One racing, and he's only 22 years old, and there's a long career ahead of him. Taking a look here, and Mark Webber still running in 5th position in the Minardi, possible 2 points to him on his debut.
Well, Mark Webber is not running very quickly. That was a 1:37.4. Mika Salo, who's 16.3 seconds behind him, took, well, 4 seconds on that last lap out. Salo's picked up his pace. He's going for the challenge to Mark Webber for 5th place. And at the pace that he's running down Mark Webber, there are stacks of laps. We've got 11 laps of this race remaining. So Mark Webber under pressure.
Oh, that's going to give us, yeah, that's going to give us something to watch over the remaining 10 laps of this race, and the fans will be on the edge of their seats as they will Mark Webber through to the checkered flag. Still some 30 miles to go, and you never know what's going to happen. He's pushing harder though, so the message is getting through. You can see the back end of the car moving around as Mark determined to maintain the gap over Mika Salo.
But it is soul destroying. He'll come past and see the times he gets on his board this time will be the times from his previous time through. If he's picked up the pace, we'll have a look and see. It was a 37 for his last lap, 35.1. He's picked up over 2 seconds. That's enough to stall Mika Salo, who was running in the 135s himself.
Following him across the line there, but in fact ahead of him on the road is Eddie Irvine, running in 4th position. He's a lap down on race leader Michael Schumacher, but he's keeping it all together, making no mistakes, all under control for Eddie Irvine. And this would be such a boost to the team. The last good result that Eddie had was that 3rd place in Monaco last year. That was a tremendous result. 4th position here today after the difficulties they've had over the winter. The testing performances, which have been so disappointing, will be such a boost to the team and to the men at Cosworth, the men and women at Cosworth, who've put so much effort into this engine.
Well, I think this is certainly a reward for the amount of hard work that has gone in to the Jaguar team based in Milton Keynes. And I mean, they produced this car. This was meant to be their definitive car. The R2, last year's car, was overweight, too high CFG, things like that. And then when they take it on the racetrack, they find it's little more than a dog. So new suspension components, new uprights, hubs. They've not done the work on the aerodynamics that they would like to do. They know the car is seriously lacking aerodynamically, but they've got this new wind tunnel facility in Bicester in Oxfordshire coming on stream very shortly indeed, and they just need to get in there like about a month ago.
Yeah, they had such a hard time trying to develop the all the aerodynamics in the Californian wind tunnel, and now at least they'll have an opportunity to do their own wind tunnel testing and sort out the handling of this car. And Dave Stubbs on the right with Nicky Lauda on the left, the man who's now in charge of everything at Jaguar and keeping fingers and just about everything crossed, I should think.
Well, certainly Nicky will come away from here with a result. How he's achieved it is irrelevant. The fact is the car is running, it's in the points, and one man whose sister got news again from the pits, who's been probably the saddest man here this afternoon outside of Rubens Barrichello, is David Coulthard. And basically what he has said is that it has been a software problem that's affected him, and this one is not down to David, it's down to the electronics on the car.
Well, a great shame for David Coulthard, and certainly with the number of times that he was struggling to get through that turn 15, it became apparent it was some sort of mechanical problem, and David out of the race. Disappointing start to the season for him, and particularly with Kimi Raikkonen in shape here to get a very, very good 3rd position on his first race for the team.
But Ben, another guy, Mika Salo, really has got a wake-up call from the Toyota team. 132.8 in response to Mark Webber's 135. That gap is now down to 12.1 seconds. There's Mark Webber coming through turn 15 into turn 16. We'll wait and see what that gap is at the end of this lap. Mark Webber's last lap 35.3. He needs to maintain or improve upon that. Mark Webber 35.5, gone slower by 0.3 of a second. Mika Salo will be coming through very shortly. Wait to see what his times are. 9.4 seconds, Salo 32.9. Toyota really want 5th place.
They do, and he gained nearly 3 seconds on this man, Mark Webber, on that last lap. So Mika Salo is closing. There is the gap as they went across start-finish line, 9.4 seconds, and gives you the distance as well, 542 metres. They'll be coming up to another checkpoint in a moment, and we'll get another look at that gap.
Well, that's Eddie Irvine, but coming just out of turn 5, we're waiting to see Mika Salo. Here he is into turn 6, and with the number of laps, 4 laps remaining, it is not going to be a particular problem, I'm sure, for Salo to catch up, and I don't think even overtaking. I think the speed that Salo is now carrying will be more than sufficient to see his way past Mark Webber in his debut Grand Prix.
7 laps to go. Mika Salo closing on Mark Webber, and Toyota looking nervous as they wait to see if their man can really close up that gap. Well, tremendous debut, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Nothing like the sniff of another place towards the end of a race to give a driver that additional inspiration. You can at times, not that the driver doesn't do it consciously, but you can sort of get into a rut, or we call it going to sleep in the trade. And maybe Mika Salo got the message from the pits. Maybe Mark Webber has got a problem. Mark is pushing as hard as he can in his Minardi. Mika Salo has discovered that he's got more pace in himself, but he's got the motivation to do it. That's what marks out drivers like Michael Schumacher. They've got that motivation 100% of the time.
Across the line, 6.9 seconds the gap between them. It is closing so rapidly, and Salo is flying in the Toyota, a car that had its aerodynamics developed largely at the Lola wind tunnel in the UK. So although, as we said, they're based in Cologne, still some involvement from the British racing car industry in that Toyota car, and Gustav Brunner, the designer, and he'll be very happy, but hoping that the reliability holds out as well. Here's our race leader, Michael Schumacher. It's been a very eventful start to the Grand Prix for him. It was an exciting battle that he had with Juan Pablo Montoya, but ever since he got past Montoya, John, it's been a cruise in the park.
Well, it has been a cruise in the park without doubt, but what has been, I thought, outstanding was the racing. The way the front runners went at it. I mean, that was proper motor racing. It was fantastic. I mean, there was no quarter given, and you've seen drivers like Montoya, Coulthard, Michael Schumacher, Kimi Räikkönen, they're getting stuck in. They're not out here just to put on a show. They're out here to fight, to win, and it has been absolutely brilliant.
Well, the action that we saw in the early stages of this race, I think people will be talking about for many Grand Prix to come, and it has started off the season in fine style. The battle between Michael Schumacher and Juan Pablo Montoya hopefully will be a battle that goes throughout the season.
Mark Webber, Mika Salo, the second of those cars, gap down to 5.1 seconds. Salo's got to get a lap or pass Eddie Irvine. Irvine is a lap ahead of Salo. Now, I hope that Jaguar, bits of paper, I think, debris in the circuit, I hope that Jaguar make Irvine aware that Salo is not a challenge for a position and let him go. He's involved in a private battle with this man, Mark Webber, for that 5th place.
Yes, I expect he'll be made aware of that. Of course, Salo and Irvine, mates from the old days, racing in Japan. The two of them had a very successful time in their earlier days, racing in Japanese single-seater series before getting the break to move up into Formula One. But Salo being watched closely by his teammate Alan McNish, who so sadly was one of those punted out in the first corner accident. And Alan, such a part of the team, involved in all the testing, egging his teammate on.
And Mika Salo on lap 54 has produced his quickest first sector time of the race. He's produced his quickest time in the second sector on lap 54. He is absolutely focused, not on the back of the Jaguar. He's not concerned about Eddie Irvine. He's after Mark Webber, and he is hunting him down ruthlessly.
Webber we saw pushing very hard a moment ago, but he's got to play this carefully. Yes, he's got to push to try and stay ahead of Salo, but just the 1 point would still be so important to Minardi. He can't afford to throw it off the island now in his attempts to keep Salo behind.
So really it's down to Eddie Irvine. Is he going to make room, let Salo go past as they come down into turn 1, or is he going to slow down the momentum of Mika Salo? And it looks like Eddie Irvine, oh, I don't mind, it's nothing to do with me. You get past me if you're quick enough. but I hope Irvine lets him go through down into turn 3. Yes, he is. He slowed back off. I suspect Salo will just slip down the inside. Oh, Eddie, come on, get out of the way.
Well, he hasn't slowed down enough, and Salo hasn't found a way past yet, and this is going to hurt him. Now, 53 laps have been completed, out of 58, 5 laps to go.
There should be a blue flag out. Irvine, you're not doing anybody any favours here. Look, let Salo go through. You're in 4th place. You got your 3 points. You know, he can't maintain his momentum if he can't get to that level.
That's right, it seems a little strange. Perhaps now the opportunity for Salo to get up the inside. Yes, he does that cleanly and safely, and gets a round of applause from the Toyota pit. But is there time now to still close the gap?
You know, Salo was the man that gifted a victory at Hockenheim to Eddie Irvine in '99. I thought Eddie might have paid back that compliment a little bit more quickly than he did.
Salo with a bit more work to do then. 4.2 seconds, definitely losing some time behind Eddie Irvine, so he's got to push hard now to try and gain that little bit. Through each and every corner you can see how hard Mika Salo is trying. The car twitching around as he gets on the power, and now we look back from Mark Webber's car.
See the blue smoke off that tyre? He got heat. There's no traction control working in this. Minardi, he lit up that rear. Well, that's the left rear tyre right as we're looking at on camera.
And now he can begin to see Mika Salo in the mirrors. The clock ticks away, the gap just 3.8 seconds, 54 laps out of 58 completed.
And Mika Salo under braking into turn 1. You could see the plumes of carbon dust coming out from within the wheel rim, just suddenly on the brakes being, oh, Mark Webber, you've lost time.
Big mistake there down at turn 3, very wide indeed, right off the throttle, and that's going to help Salo close up some more. Michael Schumacher, meanwhile, is heading for yet another win to add to his tally. It will be win number 54. He's already broken the record for numbers of victories in Grand Prix racing. He's going to add to his tally once again here this afternoon.
And Juan Pablo Montoya in 2nd place, some 26.8 seconds behind. Think back to the earliest stages of this race, they were battling for the lead. Kimi Räikkönen in 3rd place, a further 4.8 seconds behind Montoya, so the top 3 is settled results. It's only through unreliability or something unforeseen that we'd expect any change.
So for Michael Schumacher, it's a normal day at the office once again. The highest paid, the most highly respected racing driver in Formula 1. 4 times he's won the World Championship, and he's chasing that 5th title this year. What a perfect start to the season for him. 10 points on offer if he can just make it through the next 2.5 laps.
And he's been grumpy pretty much all weekend. I've never seen him look so, you know, that chin jutting out, touch of the Bruce Forsyth about him. But when he gets out of the car, you'll see the jump, the smile will be back. He will be one very, very happy world champion.
But look at Salo. He has caught up to the back of Mark Webber now. This is the battle for 5th position as the Toyota of Mika Salo on its debut, now looking to try and take 2 points away from Australia.
Ben, forget about the Melbourne Cup, the famous horse race that takes place in Melbourne in November. This is focusing the attention of the entire continent of Australia. Mark Webber fighting for 5th place in his first World Championship Grand Prix against Mika Salo and the Toyota, who's been taking lumps out of his lead or his position over the last 10 laps.
Gustav Brunner watching nervously from the pits to see whether his baby, his design, is going to be able to get past the Minardi. Well, he's going to have to do it pretty soon. And it looks as though that opportunity could come after this. Now, John, you were talking about the next corner coming up. Is a possible overtaking place?
Yes, I mean, he couldn't get inside him into turn 11. It's not a possible place to pass. He's not close enough here coming into turn 13. All he can do is position himself. It's too risky into 14. He's having a look. He's just distracting Mark Webber. Prepare to do your overtake as you exit out of 16, going across the start-finish line for one more lap into turn 1. But this will be the last lap.
Coming around.
Penultimate lap, I should say.
Coming around to complete lap number 57, these two. Across the line they go, and here comes Mika Salo. Is he going to make a move? No, he's not. Not into turn number 1.
Next chance is turn 3. Good exit from both drivers, both doing a great job. Salo, I think, has got the slight momentum, but again, the distance between the corner and where they are is so short. Salo doing what Montoya did, take the very wide line and loses it.
Oh, no!
I don't believe it.
He He's spun it, and has he got the engine running? Yes, he has, but... Oh, he's got it going, but he's lost any chance of taking that 5th position.
And the team are on the phone to Mike Casello said, take it easy. Australia's going ballistic. The 5th place, Mark Webber's fought and defended. Let's look again and see what happens. Down into the corner, Mike Casello, well, you know, what can you say? At least the guy had a go.
He did have a go, but he just got onto the slippery stuff a little wide, little offline, and it just shows you how much on the limit these guys are.
Again, this is what Montoya was doing. He was staying very out far to the left, turns in, but that's green, Mika. Montoya found that out twice. You needed to find it out once to, well, rob you, let's say, of that 5th place. But what a well-deserved drive. Mark Webber's done a stunning job here this afternoon for his team, for Australia, and for himself.
But what about this man? Michael Schumacher is heading around to take victory in Australia in the first round of the Formula One World Championship. He's picking up from where he left off at the end of last season. In Japan, at Suzuka, he took the victory from pole position. Well, he didn't take pole position here in Australia, but he is going to take those all-important 10 maximum points, and the Ferrari fans are on their feet through the stands as Michael Schumacher comes through to take the first victory of 2002. Well, there is the delight for the German, and that 5th world title could not be started on a better foot than by taking the first win of the season. Here comes Montoya.
Well, Montoya certainly gave us some entertaining racing this afternoon. And, you know, when that car, the tyres get together, Michael Schumacher's going to have a massive fight on his hand for that title. 6 points to Montoya, 4 points to Kimi Räikkönen in his first drive for McLaren Mercedes-Benz. What a great result for the young Finn. And he can only get better and better. And where will it ever stop?
The 3 top teams of Formula One finishing in the top 3 places here, and that's good in terms of making things wide open as we go towards just the second round of the championship in a couple of weeks' time in Malaysia. Michael Schumacher starting perfectly, and Mark Webber, what a dream debut. Just get through the last few corners, Mark. I know the fans are waving, there must be so many distractions. Just focus on these last few corners to make an historic debut performance.
Well, when Mark Webber steps out of this car, I hope he hasn't got a girlfriend, because every woman in Australia will want to have a bit of Mark Webber tonight.
Here he comes through the last 2 corners now, turns 15 and 16, and what a cheer, what a reception Webber is receiving here. The efforts of Paul Stoddart with the tiny Minardi team brought to fruition on his debut by the 25-year-old Australian, who's raced in the UK, raced in Europe over the last few years, fought his way into Formula One.
Well done, everybody. Fantastic job. Well done.
Oh, that is just a dream to Mark Webber. Michael Schumacher might be the winner of today's race, but there is nobody happier than Mark Webber in 5th.
Well, there are 3 drivers today and 3 teams who've really got a fantastic result. Jaguar, Minardi and Toyota. No one would have expected anything like this. The top 3, well, nothing big surprise in that. But what a great day for the teams that were at the back end of the grid. And, well, it's a bonus, and they will remember this day long into this season.
There he is, Michael Schumacher, enjoying this victory lap, that fist still held aloft. And, well, we've seen that so often. Try and listen in on the radio if we can.
Well, we were trying to get a ship to shore to Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari pit, but a little bit of interference precluding that. But Michael, I promise you, look at that. I mean, there are more Italians here in Melbourne than I think there are in Milan, Turin or Rome.
A replay of Michael Schumacher crossing the line and taking the win here in Melbourne. The 2001 car came good for them, didn't it, John? What a great decision it was for Ferrari.
It was a very good decision, a very positive decision. And believe me, people like Ross Brawn and Michael Schumacher and other principal team members do not make those decisions lightly. They did something which was a certain calculated risk, but they knew pretty much that they had a car that was very, very competitive, be it last year's car with a few bits and pieces added into it and improved from this year's car.
And that just makes the other teams surely quake in their boots to see how fast Ferrari are with their old car. Just how fast will they be with the new car? Always an issue with getting the new car set up and reliability, but you have to say Ferrari are going to be tough to beat. But here's Montoya. He couldn't win today, but he did what he had to do. That's bring it home in second place. He couldn't match the Ferrari, but he's got 6 points. And Kimi Raikkonen, his best ever Grand Prix finish in third place here today.
And I tell you, those two, Raikkonen and Montoya, are going to entertain us something this season. The pair of them are out-and-out racers. They're prepared to take risks, do things that sometimes when you get a bit older in your career you're not quite prepared to do. And there Michael decides just to do a little bit of a burnout, a couple of donuts, drives the car into the Parc Fermé, and watch his face, watch how he leaps out of the car. He is absolutely over the moon.
A great win for Michael Schumacher, and I want to see how the relationship is between him and Montoya. They would have enjoyed that race. It was a tough one, but they also know that each one will be the other's great rival throughout this season.
And Herbie Blash, Deputy Race Director for the FIA, waiting to take Michael up to the press conference, and Michael turns round and salutes the support he's had here throughout the weekend.
Mark Webber's still enjoying himself out on track on this slowing down lap. He's relishing it, going as slowly as possible so that he can soak it all up.
Well, your first Grand Prix, finish 5th, 2 points in the World Championship. I mean, it doesn't get any better.
Giving little burnouts as he comes down into the pits. And the flags are waving, and what a treat for the Australian fans. They turn up in huge numbers every year, John, but until this year, they haven't had one of their own to cheer about.
Not for a very long time, and the last time an Australian driver got any points, to my memory, was Alan Jones. And that was back in 1980 when Alan was in his World Championship year.
That's right, Alan Jones winning the title back in 1980. Took 12 wins in his career, racing between 1975 and 1981, and then making some returns in 83, 85, and the last time he raced was in 1986. But Mark Webber's the man now, and he knows it.
Well, I wonder who'll be in the front page of the Melbourne Age in the morning. I suspect it might be Michael Schumacher, but I suspect there will be a parallel photograph of this man, Mark Webber.
A glory day indeed for Melbourne and for Australia, as Mark Webber takes 2 points on his debut with Minardi, and with an Australian running that team. It is based in the UK nowadays, but a split between the UK and Italy. A lot of people working in the UK, but also in Faenza in Italy. A combination, Paul Stoddart bringing the whole thing together, and what a delight for him.
Ben, you're looking at this crowd, you'd think you're at Monza. The number of Ferrari flags on the circuit, in fact, it just is so reminiscent of what we've seen at Monza over many, many years, particularly when Ferrari have had a victory.
The results then: Michael Schumacher the winner from Juan Pablo Montoya, Kimi Raikkonen in third, Eddie Irvine for Jaguar in fourth, and what a great result that is. Mark Webber in fifth, Mika Salo taking the final point for Toyota. There's a story to each and every one of those. Alex Young and Pedro de la Rosa were classified, but outside the points. And not classified, well, it's a long list: Coulthard, Villeneuve, Frentzen, Bernaldi, Takuma Sato, Jarno Trulli, Barrichello the pole sitter, and Ralf Schumacher, who had the accident at the start. Nick Heidfeld and Felipe Massa, the two Sauber drivers, also out of the race. Not many finished, but we still had a tremendous motor race.
There's one happy Michael Schumacher. I'm pleased to see that smile return to his face. When he's grumpy, he's miserable. Everything back to normal. Montoya and Raikkonen, faces we're going to see a lot more of in the next number of years.
The smile is definitely back now. The Italian national anthem as well for Ferrari, who celebrate yet another winner here in Australia. And that's 3 in a row for Michael Schumacher around the Albert Park circuit here in Melbourne.
Ben, something we haven't talked about, which is very important to Ferrari, apart from Michael Schumacher having to win, is of course in the Constructors' Championship. They start off with 10 points. Williams, BMW get 6, and McLaren, Mercedes-Benz get 4, but it's those valuable 10 points in the Constructors' Championship that man, Jean Todt, is as interested in as he is in Michael Schumacher's World Championship.
Definitely a very, very important battle. Ross Brawn keeping an eye on what's going on up there as Juan Pablo Montoya receives his trophy for second place, and he's certainly provided plenty of entertainment in today's race. He's shown once again what a racer he is. Give him a car that's just got a little more performance, and we're going to see a lot more. And Kimi Räikkönen, get used to this young man's face. We will see an awful lot more of it in the coming months of the 2002 season. Champagne time. First time that Kimi Räikkönen has had this privilege in Formula One.
And he's going to get a little lesson. He's going to be taught that spraying champagne is an art and a skill. Michael Schumacher has practiced in that as he's on the Grand Prix track, and he'll have it done. Kimi Räikkönen's neck, look. The worst thing, of course, you get that in your eyes after you've been driving for 58 laps around Melbourne. You're sweating and it sticks to your eyes. It is awful, but does it matter? First time in the podium, 4 points in the bin. Just you go for it, my son.
Well, there they are, the top 3 from the first Grand Prix of the season. Not a lot of contact there between Michael Schumacher and Juan Pablo Montoya. They know that each other, they are likely to be battling throughout this season. And that's what we're looking forward to. Schumacher, though, taking first blood here in Australia.
Well, very shortly they'll be into the press room and we'll get a first-hand account of how Michael Schumacher saw the first corner incident, and then, of course, the battles that he had to deal with David Coulthard and Juan Pablo Montoya.
Of course, the race may have been very different if we hadn't had that first corner accident taking out so many, not only of fancied runners, but many of the strong midfield runners as well. But that's the way motor racing goes. They were able to clear it all up remarkably effectively. The safety car came in, they got the race underway again, and then we saw that battle developing, first with Coulthard leading, then he had his mechanical woes on the restart after Jarno Trulli had gone off. And Trulli, you know, he put in a good show for a while, but unfortunately the Renault just couldn't quite stand the pace up front. Trulli went off, safety car came back out, and on the restart Coulthard's problems began. And then we saw that tremendous wheel-to-wheel battle for lap after lap between Michael Schumacher and Juan Pablo Montoya.
And also, as it turns out, just thinking back to that first corner incident, immediately I thought, not just safety cars, stop it. That's the decision that Charlie Whiting has to make. He's in race control. What a great decision he made. He must have been so close to throwing the red light, putting red flags around the circuit. He judged it very well. We had a great motor race. Sadly, we didn't have enough cars in it, but what the hell, we had a great race nonetheless.
That's right. You don't always need many cars, John. You only need 2 cars to make a good race, and we had more than that, certainly, involved in the action. And with all the drama, even towards the end of the Toyota of Mika Salo trying to catch Mark Webber to get an extra point, and then spinning and just about managing to get going again, well, there was something happening just about all the way through the event.
Well, Lagan Street in Melbourne tonight will be ballistic, as the fans, the Ferrari fans principally here, are going to go out and, let's say, celebrate in the appropriate manner. It'll be the amber nectar or whatever else is near to hand.
There's going to be some serious hangovers in Melbourne tomorrow morning, and everybody, I think, has something to celebrate, particularly with an Australian driver getting into the top 6. They will be having a thoroughly fun evening on this day that has brightened up considerably. I'm glad to say it started wet and murky in the warm-up this morning. We thought that we would see showers of rain during the race, but as it turned out, the sun gradually came out. The colours began to shine, and everybody's had a fabulous afternoon here in Melbourne.
And there are the red wigs that the Ferrari fans have followed the example of Schumacher, Todd, Ross Brawn and all when they won their first championship. Testarossa, redhead, famous in Italy and in Ferrari for, well, 40 years.
Now we're just taking a little look here. Mark Webber making his way to the team, and this was how he was received just a few moments ago. Fantastic.
Congratulations, gentlemen. The first Grand Prix of the year, the Australian Grand Prix. First place, Michael Schumacher. Second place, Juan Pablo Montoya. And third place, Kimi Räikkönen. The first time we've had you here in the Unilateral studio. Michael, very, very frightening first corner accident. What did you see? You were right in the middle of it.
Yeah, obviously I didn't see everything, only that what happened in front of me, and that was Ralph had a collision with Rubens. I don't actually know what was going on, whether he had a problem or whatever, but I guess he will have told you in the meantime. And then it was just cars flying everywhere. I was afraid to turn into the first corner because I saw suddenly cars flying by next to me, so I decided, same as Kimi, I think, to go straight on and have a nice ride through the grass, which probably was a good decision, otherwise I would have been hit, I guess.
Now, once all that settled down, the safety car went in. You had a good fight with Jarno Trulli for a while, then he spun off. We lost David Coulthard at the second restart. He went for a ride over the grass, but a longer one than yours. And then a big fight with Juan Pablo Montoya.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it was quite an interesting one, especially with Juan, because we had a straight fight with more equal cars. Jarno was closing the doors basically everywhere and not giving any chance, which was done on a very slow car, honestly, which I don't know whether that was sort of... it was fair, but it didn't seem to be appropriate at the situation. But I enjoyed the fight, obviously, with him. It was a bit back and forward. I think as well that the tyres played a little bit of a role in that. Initially, I struggled to get the temperature in, where these guys seem to get faster on top of temperatures. But then it went the other way around. Their tyres went off, and my one came in. So I had a nice chance to battle a little bit, and finally got first position for us, which was ideal. It wasn't really thought to be before we came here, but we're obviously nicely surprised that we have been able to do this job this weekend.
Very good job too. Thank you, Michael. Juan Pablo, talk me through your side of your battle with Michael.
But I think it was pretty good. You know, I managed to get by him in the restart, and then, you know, for a couple of laps I thought we were going to be competitive, and as soon, you know, as you said, as soon as he got temperatures, you know, there's nothing to do. It's just way too fast, and it was a matter of time. You know, I was holding him and holding him and holding him until, you know, he was going to find a way past. You know, either I was protecting the line or giving him the line, and you know, he drove around the outside like I was parked there, and they just drove into the distance.
Now, talking of tyres, on the grid we saw a shot of your front right-hand tyre. When they took the tyre blanket off, it looked as though it had been blistered. Is that the case?
No. As far as I know, no.
Well, there seemed to be bubbles on the surface of the tyre.
No. It was no problems, as far as I remember.
OK, thanks very much. Kimi, welcome to the press conference. Great race, third place on your debut for McLaren. But you had a very strange start to the race. Tell us about your first pit stop. You came in very unplanned. What happened?
Yeah, on the start, something went under my car, on the front part of my car, and I just didn't have anything to do. It just went straight over the sand, and luckily I got to turn around and came back on the circuit. And then on this first lap or first corner accident, I got something also behind my back end seat, or between the back end seat, and came in and they take it away and start from the last place and end up in the third.
Now, your second pit stop was rather more sort of scheduled and ordinary, but you came out and very nearly got in front of the man from Williams, Mr. Montoya, but then you went off at the first corner. Why was that? You just braked too late?
Yeah, I went a bit too quick and just went off, unfortunately. Maybe lost the second place, but that's racing and maybe better luck next time.
Thank you very much. Back to you, Michael. Malaysia next time out. Is that going to suit you? Because I presume it's going to be rather hotter than it is here. People always seem to say Bridgestone better in the high temperature, in the cooler temperatures, and Michelin in the warmer ones. What do you reckon?
Certainly, there was a stage last year that was the case, but I would say that by Magny-Cours we solved this kind of situation on our side and improved quite a bit. I reckon anyway, and we have seen that last year. We had been very competitive here last year. And suddenly we started to battle in qualifying with Ralph. So I would assume that it's going to be a much tighter battle from now on. Actually, if you remember in Brazil, he was giving me a very hard time and driving away. So things can change very quickly around, and I wouldn't see what we have seen today as a real measurement for what happens in the future. I like to say a word about my teammate, obviously. I'm sorry for him, because it could have been a nice race for him, but unfortunately that's part of racing, and I'm sure he's going to have better luck in future.
Thank you very much, Michael. Now, if you'd like to talk in your own languages, starting again with Michael.
Der ist natürlich ein perfekter Saisonstart, den wir uns nicht ganz so erträumt hatten, logischerweise, zwar gehofft haben. Speziell nachdem wir die Entscheidung treffen mussten, mit dem alten Auto hier anzutreten, war das nicht unbedingt vorherzusehen, nach den fabelhaften Testzeiten, die eben von Williams und McLaren erreicht wurden über die Wintertests. Dennoch hat unser altes Auto wirklich hier eine sehr gute Performance gezeigt. Und ich glaube auch, dass es mitunter ein Grund dafür ist, weil wir das alte Auto hier hatten, dass es so gut gegangen ist. Wir kannten es 100%ig, haben uns im Setup nie verrannt und wussten immer, wo wir standen. Und zudem hat Bridgestone sicherlich einen hervorragenden Reifen für uns gebaut, der hier 100% hingepasst hat. Und in alle Richtungen möchte ich ein Dankeschön sagen für das tolle Ergebnis. Sorry für meinen Teamkollegen. Und ich gehe mal davon aus, dass wir dieses Jahr noch viel Spaß haben werden. Danke.
Michael, thank you. Juan Pablo?
Bueno, yo creo que fue una buena carrera, una buena manera de empezar la temporada. Tengo una buena pelea con Michael, pero definitivamente todavía están adelante de nosotros. Yo creo que va a ser muy duro ese año volverlos a alcanzar, pero por lo menos estamos desde la primera carrera tenemos puntos y eso yo creo que es una cosa muy buena.
Thank you, Juan Pablo. Kimi?
Joo, oli aika kummallinen kisa, kun lähdössä itse asiassa mä sain jotain autoa veteen alle ja ei yhtään ohjaus toiminut enää. Ja meni suoraan, mutta sitten viimeiseltä paikalta täytyi vielä käydä varikolla ja oli aika sähläistä siinä, mutta sitten se rupesi menemään ihan hyvin. Ja lopputuloksi 3, niin se on aina parempi kuin pisteet ekasta kisasta ja katsotaan nyt mihin me pystytään sitten muutaman viikon päästä Malesiassa, toivottavasti vielä parempaa.
Thank you very much.
Interesting to see, isn't it, John? And you look at Kimi Räikkönen there, talking first podium, first time he's been in that press conference, but again, like you said earlier, so cool, as if, you know, I expect to be here, this is no big deal, this is where I should be.
Well, I think that's true.
Well, we're going to take a chance to look back over some of the action.
all round at the end of an eventful day in Melbourne. To go back to the start, it was a spectacular and at the time very worrying accident. Was it the right place, if that's the right way of putting it, to have that accident? Because there seemed to be an awful lot of runoff.
There was. I mean, considering he launched himself, Ralf Schumacher launched himself at pretty much the highest speed point of the circuit. He braked a little bit, but he flew a long way. He hardly touched the barrier. He dissipated most of his speed by the time he got to the barrier. So they've done a lot of. I think they've done a lot of work there, improving the runoff. But still.
Well, in general, one of the trickiest things when the car inverts, isn't it? That's generally the trickiest thing.
Yes, I mean, here we've got another replay of it.
Right.
They're doing, bang, there he's doing 140 miles an hour probably. And as the car went up in the air.
Yeah. See, now, if you look at that again...
I mean, he loses his front wing, Perry. Look, see this now? Now it's flying.
Sure.
Just there, it's flying.
But if that had turned over then his head's completely exposed, isn't it?
Yeah, well, this...
I mean, we both know what it's like.
that's... It's amazingly stable, actually, in flight.
Yes.
And we can laugh about it now, but you remember the similar thing at the next corner happened with Martin Brundle a few years back.
Sure.
He barrel rolled upside down.
Yeah.
That is potentially very dangerous, because if a car turns upside down in gravel, then the headrest goes into the gravel and you risk breaking your neck.
Well, we saw that happen with Sauber, didn't we, a couple of years back? I think it was Pedro.
This young man, we've seen him come up through the ranks. John, he was the Formula Ford Festival winner some years ago. He moved up to British Formula 3 and, of course, was taken up by Mercedes for their sports car programme, which was good and bad, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I mean, he got into the Mercedes-Benz sports car team. I mean, he basically walked up to Norbert Hagen and said, "Look, I'm Mark Webber. Here's my CV. I'd like to drive for you in sports cars," and he got the drive. But of course, in the second year, it didn't work quite so successfully. Into Formula 3000, came second in last year's International 3000 Championship to Englishman Justin Wilson. But he got the drive, he got the support in Australia from Melbourne. And now he's got 2 points in the World Championship.
It's made it all worthwhile, and he has worked so hard at raising the money, getting the finance to get into Formula One. He applies himself to every aspect of being a racing driver, whether it's the fitness, whether it's the technical side in the car, and whether it's the commercial side, which you have to do nowadays as a driver trying to make your way. He's applied himself to every area. And it's so great that he's had a reward in his very first Grand Prix.
Indeed, and he's got to take his opportunities. He may not get very many more of these this year, really, because once we get into the season, particularly in Europe, things will change. Consistency and the reliability will be very much more. Hopefully we'll not see too many more incidents, as we saw in the first corner here this afternoon in future Grand Prix. Luckily, enough runoff area and space for everybody to come to a stop safely. And everybody was able to walk away uninjured, and great to see that.
It's a funny world, isn't it? I bet last year hardly anyone, even in Australia, knew Mark Webber's name. He was a struggling racing driver, working his way through the ranks of Formula 3000, and now he will be a star throughout Australia. Paul Stoddart on the left-hand side there, the team boss, the man from Melbourne himself. And what a proud day this is for them. And such a great sight to have them up on the podium.
Well,
deserves to be there.
Let's say he's up on the podium. What will happen, I don't know. But in Australia, you've got an Australian team owner and an Australian driver. I think that everybody will be more than delighted. The emotion of the occasion is so powerful that really it's appropriate right now.
It is. And there he is. A man whose life has perhaps just changed.
Ben, ironically, the sponsors of the race are Foster's, of course, the most famous, internationally known lager in the world, I would say, these days.
And Mark's had to struggle sometimes trying to find the finance, but he's been helped by some interesting people over the years. The famous rugby international David Campese actually helping him in his quest to find money and supporting him himself, providing some of the money to help Mark. And now David, amongst so many of his supporters, will see it's all been worth it. The champagne spraying everywhere, and that party is definitely going to go on all night long. Paul Stoddart, the man who's made his fortune basically out of buying and selling aircraft parts, and then from that creating his own airline, and now he's bought a whole new fleet of planes and is involved in flying Formula One personnel all over the world.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good year so far for Paul Stoddart. The only thing that's blotted is this little row that's ongoing with Tom Walkinshaw over the ownership assets. But nonetheless, that's behind everybody right now. Ron Walker, Paul Stoddart, Mark Webber, absolutely over the moon. Interesting comments just picking up, Ben. Well, this is all going on up on the podium. Gerhard Berger suggesting that while it's acceptable to make, for a driver to make one blocking move, it is not acceptable to make a second blocking move. And he's sort of implying that Rubens, having gone over to the right side of the track, then came back to the left, and maybe that isn't quite as correct as we might have been led to think from Rubens' comments after he got back to the pits.
Well, it's certainly going to be cause of discussion, and well, that's part of the fun of Formula One, is the talk about it afterwards, the analysis, the taking it apart piece by piece, and everybody working out exactly what happened, what should and shouldn't happen. Of course, Michael Schumacher is the early championship leader after the first round, and in 2 weeks' time they'll be going to Malaysia. It's a track that Michael always seems to go well at.
Well, certainly he dominated last year, made a very memorable pass on Ruben Barrichello, one that Barrichello was very unhappy about altogether. But you know, this is a business where you don't take prisoners. You're there to win for yourself, and just make sure you don't take your own teammate off and compromise the team in the first place. And after all, in as much as Rubens doesn't want to know it, it is Michael's team. But Rubens will win a race. He did a great job here in practice and qualifying to put the car on that pole position. And he's a different person. He's grown, he's matured. It shows in his face. There's more composure. He's calmer. And all that can be only to his own benefit.
That's right. Let's hope that he can maintain that sort of attitude and that approach throughout the rest of the season. It is really the only way to deal with being second fiddle to Michael Schumacher. Eddie Irvine always seemed to have a great approach to it. He managed to deal with it very effectively. Eddie very strong in the head, of course, and was able to deal with it in his own particular way.
Well, he did it very simply by saying Michael Schumacher is the best driver in the world, but he then sort of followed it up by saying, but I'm the second best driver in the world. But I mean, Eddie had a great year in '99, almost won the World Championship. Unfortunately for him, it didn't come together in Japan, the final Grand Prix, and Mika Hakkinen went on to seal his second World Championship.
Well, the fans beginning to make their way home, elated no doubt by the performance of this man in particular, Mark Webber, and the delight at the end of the race, plain to see for everybody. And Australia is going to be celebrating all night long after he scored points for Minardi. It's, you know, Formula One, sometimes people say, well, you know, you've got the top three teams, they're spending all this money. Why do these guys bother? You know, they're never going to win a race, but days like today make it worthwhile.
Indeed, I mean, they're in business because they love Formula One, but also they have to make it pay. And those 2 points are the most valuable 2 points Paul Stoddart has ever earned in any form of motor racing in his life, and it will set the team on a direction which will enable them to invest more in every aspect of the engineering, both on the engine side and on the car and chassis side aerodynamically. You can't imagine how much of a bonus it will be to the team.
Alan McNish discussing with journalists what went on today and enjoying the fact, no doubt, that Toyota have got their first point in the World Championship in their first race as a constructor. That really is a great achievement for them as well. We mustn't forget that.
But you can imagine Alan's thoughts right now. He speaks to Simon Arron, one of the British press corps. He must feel slightly gutted because, you know, it could have been me in my first Grand Prix getting that final point.
Well, this has been our coverage from the first round, and of course we'll be back in 2 weeks' time to bring you all the coverage through the free practice sessions, the warm-up, the qualifying and the race itself from Malaysia. If it's anything like the fun and games that we've had here today, we're in for a real treat. Thank you for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed unrivaled coverage on the F1 Digital Service. From Ben Edwards and John Watson, until next time, bye-bye for now. We're going to take a chance to look back over some of the action from today. A quick look at the highlights of the first round of this year's World Championship.
joins us. Great day for you, Paul. We're all so pleased for you.
Jim, I'm just the proudest guy in Australia today. I really am. I mean, you guys know more than anything how much I dreamed of something like this. And what a place to do it here in Australia.
You've done it in your home city, but take a deep breath and just tell us what 2 points means to your team, to Minardi.
Well, it means everything. I mean, it means TV money, it means, you know, top 10 position. I mean, here we are, start of the year, and already we've fulfilled our entire year's criteria. Jim, it doesn't get any better than this. The champagne's going to be flowing for a long time at Minardi tonight. The reception we've had, even Michael stopped to say to congratulate me. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. It just doesn't.
And for you to do it in your home city, the local boy made good. I mean, it's a fairy story, really.
It really is, and, you know, it's been a long, hard road. But my God, I am so proud. I am so proud.
Now, be honest, Paul, when you came here, cracky, and you waved the flag when the jet landed and everything, but be honest to us, you can't have expected to score points here.
Well, I have to admit, yesterday I asked the crowd to do a rain dance in qualifying, and they did it. And then after that, bugger me, we got these points. I mean, I just can't believe that it's just all... It is a dream. It's a dream. I mean, someone's going to have to pinch me and tell me that it's, you know, that it's not just a dream.
And what about what your man, another Australian, of course, Mark Webber, has done for you in his first Formula One race?
Well, he's really showed that my faith in him, both in 2000 and now, is justified. The guy is a... Mark...
Yeah,
the guy is a real racer, and he's about to join us here. He can't hear you. It's Jim Rosenthal and teaching all the guys. Say hello.
Hi, guys. What a day. I wish he was here. Unbelievable to finish my first Grand Prix in the points, and I've got to thank this guy here. He's trying to help this small team get to the front, and we've got to enjoy this moment, but we've got the rest of the season ahead of us as well, and this is a great start for us. Thanks.
Paul, just turn the interviewer down there for us and ask him about the scrap with Salo at the end and his feelings, could you?
How did you feel when Salo came up behind you and we said at any cost, don't let him pass, and then you saw him spin in the background?
When you guys are saying, don't let him pass, I'm going, hang on, we want a point, but we're fighting it. So I was a bit of a wounded bull at that stage. Obviously, I had completely no diff pressure. I was worried about the slow corners because that's where I thought he would have got me. But I just kept my line, and I was going to make him work for it. Don't worry, get him on the marbles if I could or whatever, but he spun, so...
I have to say, Jim, there was a few cheers here in this pit lane when you know, I mean, I love Mika, he's a great driver, but when he spun, I think this is one time, you know, nobody was too sorry to see it happen.
You've got the next one in a couple of weeks' time, both of you. You're going to be sometime leaving this city, though, aren't you?
I don't think either of us are going to move from here for a few days till we get through the celebrations first.
Tonight could be serious. I've got an early plane to catch, but I'll probably be missing that one, I think.
Listen,
all plane flights from Minardi are cancelled as of now for tonight.
Listen, we feel so good for you up here. Many congratulations, and we appreciate you joining us down there.
Anytime, guys, anytime. It's fantastic.
Fantastic. Well done, Paul. OK. Back with us in Melbourne before the first corner of the new season. A crash we estimated at £10 million worth of damage. And all those men, Mark, in their flying machines, you'd have to say.
They're definitely in the flying machines. I mean, this is the most unbelievable start. But for me, I will lay the blame clearly at Ralf Schumacher's doorstep. I don't know whether he didn't have his glasses on for that start or what, but for me, you know, he should have backed away from Rubens. Rubens moved over a couple of times, sure, but he took the lead of the race. That's his position, that's his command. A little bit surprised that Ralf didn't move over to the left. He had plenty of room. He knew that Rubens wouldn't go for the inside line and still take the corner there at that kind of angle. So, you know, to get airborne as well, I mean, he's so lucky, that guy, unbelievably lucky.
That was amazing because if you remember, a mate of yours, Christian Fittipaldi, went up and over backwards like that at Monza in '93 and very, very nearly did the complete flip. All these other guys suffering as a consequence, both the Saubers out there, Fisichella involved, McNish out on his Grand Prix debut. The other thing is that how well the gravel trap did. I think, Mark, this was an amazing start because he got the launch control worked still well.
He's still changing up, Tony. Yeah, he's still accelerating. There's no way there that he was ever going to make the first turn at that kind of speed. For me, it was just a plain mistake.
How fast do you reckon he went into that graveler? Because it really arrested him. He came at the end into the barriers with not a lot of damage. It did its job as well.
I'll just say he's extremely lucky. I mean, very lucky.
OK, and Jarno Trulli, I mean, we don't know these days whether it's driver error or what, do we, with with Jarno Trulli, but he had it just looked like a spin, didn't it?
Well, our sources tell us that the traction control looked like it was a bit of an incident in terms of cutting out halfway through the corner, and that just shows you how reliant a modern-day Grand Prix car is on it. To just spin off like that, he had a fairly heavy impact there as well at that point.
Yeah, because we saw it last year when the electronics take over the car, and then it just lets go and you lose the total grip.
But Mark, isn't every driver going to say now, not me, old governor, it's the electronics?
Well, the fashion down the pit lane is that the drivers never want to give up that they've made a mistake and so forth. But I have to say, in that instant, that doesn't look like a mistake by a driver. When you're in the corner and that far through the corner and something to go, it's normally a car error.
David Coulthard had a terrible time in that McLaren, and I think it's fair to say we can't blame him for what happened.
Well, we now know from the interview there with Louise that he was having glitches with the gearbox, and in terms of it downshifting, it caught him out and threw him off just when he was getting ready for the restart again. Off he goes and pitches him off the side track. He did well to keep it all together. We saw 3 other occasions during the race before his retirement when he got stuck in 6th gear that's what happened to him as well. For me, this was the move of the race. I mean, that was real Indy style.
Montoya past Michael Schumacher.
Exactly, and again, it just shows the experience what Montoya gained in IndyCar racing. They're very used to having those safety cars out on cool tyres, making the most of it. Very aggressive.
That was a terrific piece of action during the race, a terrific cameo. Those two really going at it, but it seemed to me only a matter of time, Mark, before Michael got by him.
Well, I mean, we knew Ferrari and Schumacher were a strong package all day long. Friday, Saturday, and what was different Sunday? Nothing. But the battle was on between Montoya and Schumacher, and I feel that it will get stronger and stronger as the season goes on. Michelin, Bridgestone, that's the big competition.
Well, this is what we wanted to see, and this is what everyone's been talking about over the winter. Juan Pablo Montoya, he started giving Schumacher a bloody nose as long ago as Brazil last year, and he had to stick really to the inside line there. He drifted wide. Michael Schumacher gets past him and gets into the lead. We knew that was inevitable, but this is a portent of things to come.
First
and it's very going to be exciting. Yeah.
I mean, before the start in our show, we had speechless Eddie Irvine. Lo and behold, he finishes it in the points and actually goes past David Coulthard at one point with that Jaguar.
No downforce whatsoever. It has to be said that the Jaguar R3 is significantly lighter than last year's car, but Eddie wouldn't have given himself a chance there, and there he goes through and scoring points. I mean, it's fair play. You've got to keep plugging away on these races of attrition.
Absolutely. Well, he was speechless, Eddie Irvine. He's got something to say now, and here he is, chatting to Louise Goodman.
Well, Eddie, I suppose today just goes to prove that dreams do come true.
To quote a song, how bizarre. Yeah, that was just incredible. I couldn't believe I think I was 5th at the first corner. That was our only hope, fill it and hope and pray. And I think Günther got a bit of beginner's luck today, so we got 3 points, but we can't rest on our laurels. That was, there's not going to be 11, 12 cars out every first corner, so we got to really sit up and take notice and do something.
But nonetheless, that's a nice moral boost for the team, isn't it?
It's a nice 3 points to start the season with. Everyone knows how it came, so there's no illusions. We've a lot of work to do.
Very realistic there, Tony. That result camouflages a lot of things that are obviously wrong at Jaguar.
Yeah, but it gives them some breathing time, doesn't it? Because they've got to do some really hard work on this car. The problem is they've got these 3 flyaway races, as they call them, when they all put in the packing cases, not based in Europe. They're staying out all the way through to Brazil. They can't do that much development work, can they?
Yeah, they've only got a week or so left for testing as well, with the new regulations and so forth. But make the most of it, because that's not going to happen very often this season with Jaguar.
Unfortunately.
And it's also not going to happen very often this season that Minardi get in the points, and the thousands of people leaving the circuit are absolutely chuffed to bits about that. But this little battle between Webber and Mika Salo, and the roar that went up when that happened was astonishing.
Well, Mika Salo was lining him up to try and make a move, but Mika made a rookie mistake, which he just went wide, blew the apex, and got on the marbles.
There's the Minardi garage. And they like a party down there, Tony, but you can see what they thought when Salo spun.
Well, Minardi haven't had a point since 2 years ago. I think Genet got a point at the European Grand Prix. The last Australian driver in '84, I think, was Dave Brabham, one of your mates and contemporary racers. And the last time an Australian scored a World Championship point would have been '86, Alan Jones in Italy.
And financially, what would it mean to Paul Stoddart, these couple of points? It's a big wedge early, isn't it?
It is a big wedge early. Look, they've been up on the podium as well. Stoddy's everywhere, right throughout this city tonight. And we say that unreservedly because we've hitched lifts on the European aviation planes. And
I think he'll be able to get another 747 in the bonus.
I think he will. We don't know how much they earn because that's all in the Concorde Agreement. But we know it's that much that Paul Stoddart's prepared to fight for the money that earned last year when Prost had fallen out of the way significantly. To get points like that will mean a lot.
Sure. But we saw the Ferrari flags down there waving, and we have to talk about Michael Schumacher and just take a deep breath and realise how superior his Ferrari is at the moment.
And it's last year's car. I mean, how demoralising is that for the rest of the pit lane? I mean, everybody must be so depressed.
Second-hand motor, I think Ted Kravitz called it.
Oh yeah, well, Alpha Daily would have been proud of selling that one, wouldn't he? But it's an unbelievable achievement that Ferrari have done that with an old car. Yes, there's been evolutions, there's been the new engine modifications from the 2002 engine. It's scary, isn't it? They've got a new car coming out and it's going to be even quicker.
They say it's the best Ferrari ever, the new version, that is, but the old one doesn't go too badly. But was he a bit fortunate to avoid that stuff at the start, Michael Schumacher?
I think Michael is so aware, more aware than any other driver of the space around him and just, you know, sort of the millimetres that he can use. And we watched him on that start from the aerial shot. He saw it all going on and he stayed to the left, out of the way, and managed to pick his way through. So he was acutely aware. But the other thing there is he probably realised it was his brother, and he knows that the parents, the Schumacher parents, cannot watch the start because they're so nervous on the television. They go out the room, so they'd have missed all of that, come back and seen the replay and go, oh my God, you know.
Okay, just to sum things up, when we look back at the first race of 2002, what'll be your overriding memory?
I'd say my overriding memory is domination by Schumacher, Mark Webber and Minardi, fantastic, but don't forget Toyota. To turn up at your first Grand Prix and actually finish a race, let alone score a point.
Tony?
For me, it will be Montoya and the fact that he's learnt so much since he was here last time, you know, in Australia, and he's going to be a threat this year.
Good. Tony, Mark, thank you very much indeed.
The high float came down the right-hand side on the grass and took about 3 or 4 more cars out, so yeah, it was just accidents everywhere, but it was just like racing in, you know, kamikaze, but there you go.
You think it's sensible to race on?
As long as there's no debris on the circuit, I mean, you can't stop a race just for so many cars out, but I don't know, it's just not a race anymore, is it? Half the cars are out, but there you go.
Okay, thanks.
I tried to get my head away.
Rear wing fell off.
Have you seen something about the start accident?
A lot of smoke, car pieces everywhere, and no, apart from that, no.
Is it sensible to carry on with a race like that?
Sure, why not? There was a safety car, we all went slowly. There was no reason to put a red flag, the track was open.
Maybe too much debris?
It's not really a problem.
Okay, thanks.
How about your rear wing?
I'm with Rubens Barrichello. Rubens, such a short start here in 2002 season.
Well, I guess Ralph wouldn't have made the corner if I wasn't there. I just see it as simple as that.
So you're blaming Ralph for braking too late?
Well, it's a situation where I've been involved with the two, and right now, all I can say is that I protect my line against him overtaking me, and then I had to brake somewhere, and I don't think I braked too early. Actually, I braked it even later because I thought that something like that could have happened. But then I just felt the heat, and it was such a big hit. That's my view, that he wouldn't have made the corner. I think he was flat out by the time I braked, so I don't know what he was imagining.
Very disappointing. Do you think the race should have been stopped at that point?
Absolutely. I blame them not to stop the race because there was so many pieces of cars around and so many cars involved in the accident that the track was too dirty for someone to keep on going. So I just thought it was very unfair.
Thanks, Rubens. Good luck.
Thank you.
Ruby?
Into the very first corner, how did you avoid that?
Well, I'm not sure, to be honest, but I obviously looked pretty spectacular from where I was sitting with Ralph going over the back of Rubens. I was a little bit surprised that happened because it seemed so early before the corner, but nonetheless, obviously happy that Rubens was okay, Ralph was okay, because obviously I saw his car go high. And then things were looking reasonably good in terms of position for me. Obviously, I had developed a down selection problem which caught me out just before the restart, and I ran wide, and then it ran smooth for a few laps and then had another problem, and then it eventually jammed in 6th gear.
It was disappointing because it seemed after the carnage on the first corner it was your race almost for the taking.
Yeah, it certainly would have been interesting to see what pace we could have run with Michael, but I really, once I developed that early glitch in the gearbox, I knew I was in trouble.
I mean, when you were running, you've said all weekend Ferrari had it at this circuit, you were going to be equal to the Williams. Does that seem apparent today as well?
Well, I haven't been able to follow obviously closely what was happening with Kimi, but from when they were lapping me when I had the gearbox problem, and I could see that he was running right with them. So it certainly looks like we had the pace.
Thanks very much, David.
Okay, thanks.
David, some people thought the race may have been...
Kimi, welcome to the club. How was your first podium?
Oh, it was good. Of course, the podium is always good, but it was quite a difficult race because all the things what happened through the race, and I'm very happy still.
How did you see the accident, the start accident?
I just didn't have much time to look what was going on. I just saw that two cars shunted to each other, and I just tried to avoid them.
So what's the Finnish way of celebrating the first podium?
I don't know yet. We need to look.
Thank you. Okay.
Good job today, and one of the top 3.
That was good entertainment. How exciting was the race for you?
It was a good race. It was good, and we didn't do any real mistakes. I was surprised, at the beginning when Michael got by me the first time with the oil. I wasn't really expecting to see any oil there, but that happens.
How did you see the accident?
I saw a blue and white car flying, and that was it. A lot of wings and stuff flying around. I think I made a very conservative start in the way where I braked. I decided to brake quite early, and it really paid off.
We heard you had a problem with a puncture in the tire. What was that?
No, it was, I thought I had a puncture because I went through some oil that I didn't know was there, and I braked. And so I whoa, went completely ooh, puncture or something we got here. And, I went through, easy to three or four corners, and then I felt the ride again, and then I noticed everybody was braking on the right. And there was definitely some oil there, and it really, it cost me a little bit. And then I got by Michael again, but as soon as the, pressures came up, and the Bridgestone pressures came up, it seemed, they had a bit of an edge on us while the tires were cleaning.
The overtaking maneuvers with Michael, how much racing fun was that?
It's good, that's what it's all about, and it's good because it's a clean fight both ways, and that's, hopefully can stay that way.
So the first race is over. How is the potential? What do you think?
I think there's a lot of potential there. I think if it would have been a lot hotter, we wouldn't look much better for us. But, it's good. It's a good show.
Thanks.
I think I expected that we will finish well if we finish, because it's always same here in Australia. If you finish the race, you are quite well up. And same thing again. I was 3 laps in the pits and I still finished 6th, so it's pretty good. But considering everything else, we were quick in the race all the time. We were overtaking cars. We had a good race, even we were behind. But I was racing against the guys who were a couple laps in front of me, but it doesn't matter, it was still fun.
A little bit angry about yourself about the last 2 laps?
No, actually we had a little misunderstanding. I thought it's last lap, and I had to have a go as soon as I got behind him, so I had to have a go. And there was some oil on that corner all race, and I thought it's gone, but it wasn't, so I hit it and I lost it a little bit, but 1 point is good.
You had some good positions in Formula 1 already, but was that one of the most important days for you?
It was very important to score well, but I don't want to get carried away here because how many cars didn't finish. So let's wait for next race, how much we can improve, how much everybody else will improve, and see where we are again. But this was a good starting point for us. Now we know what we have to improve in the team and in the car.
Thanks very much. Good luck for Malaysia.
That's entertainment. How exciting was the race for you?
Obviously very good in some ways at the beginning. It was unfortunate so many cars went out, but Michael drove extremely well. It's good to see such good and fair racing. So very entertaining.
Coming from Michael to Rubens, how did you see the start accident?
I've got to look at it really, to be honest. I can't comment because I was too busy involved with the race after that. So I really need to look at it before I comment.
You think it would have been sensible to make a restart, so many cars retiring?
There's an argument for that, but there was no danger. I mean, obviously we would have appreciated a restart because we would have had both cars left in there, but it works both ways.
So if the 2001 is that successful, how successful will the new car be?
Well, I hope just as successful. I mean, we finished last year with a very, very good car. We worked on it over the winter. I don't think people appreciated quite what we did with the car over the winter. And, and obviously we've got to make sure 2002 is quicker and more reliable, or as reliable. So we've got a good standard to reach.
Thank you. Ron, first of all, how did you see the start accident?
Obviously, Ralph ran into the back of Barrichello. The question always is, you know, was Barrichello being too careful, or did Ralph make a mistake? Hard to tell.
Would have been sensible to stop the race and make a restart?
No, I think the right. I think in those situations you've got to let the race continue. No one was hurt, and they were able to clear the debris. You should. People shouldn't be given a second chance in those circumstances.
Kimi's performance today?
Very good, exceptional. The fastest lap. One small mistake, which cost him second place. For a young guy in a team which, of course, has some pressures in it, I think he did exceptionally well.
Thank you.
Ralph Schumacher, firstly, a very spectacular accident. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks very much.
What happened?
Well, I don't know. I had a good start. Rubens closed the door on me once, and then I moved. He closed the door on me twice. And by doing that, it looked like he was braking, actually. I don't know. To be honest, yeah, he was braking. Just looking at it in the review. And, well, I don't know. Anyway, it's a shame. It was a good start. Could have been a great race, I think.
So his braking was well before where you'd normally expect it?
Well, I mean, looking from it from the outside, we were both on the inside, and I'm sure Rubens just didn't want to outbrake himself, so he braked a little earlier, and I didn't expect it.
Very bad luck, thanks. Gary Anderson, you don't look a very happy man.
No, I'm not very happy at all. I mean, it was an absolutely silly accident, obviously, at the start of the race, but the decision not to stop the race by the FIA is absolutely absurd. You know, we've got first race of the championship here, and half the grid's gone. So, I mean, what good's that to the many million people that watch it? It's absolutely just the most absurd decision I've ever seen in my life.
But on the plus point, Takuma's made the most amazing start ever, 22nd to 7th.
Yeah, but it's absolutely incredible. But, you know, again, it's about the race. You know, there's 22 cars trying to compete here and do something, and through, okay, driver enthusiasm, there's a bit of a mix-up. But, you know, the FIA should get in and stop that. I mean, the race could be restarted. Everybody's got a spare car. We could be running around now with 18 cars, which, after another hour and a half or something, there could be nobody left.
Thanks, Gary.
Nick Heidfeld, unfortunately your race was over almost as it began. How did the accident happen as you saw it?
Well, actually I had a reasonable start, and then I saw a couple of cars flying in front, a couple of cars sideways, so I decided to go to the right-hand side, not to crash into them, but by doing that I went through the garage and then actually hit some other cars as well. So that's how I saw it.
Gary Anderson suggested that the race should have been stopped. Do you agree? Half of the grid are missing.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there were, I don't know how many cars there were. On the TV I even saw that one car was burning a bit, which I think wasn't a problem, but from my point of view it should have been stopped, but I think I have to see it again.
Bad luck, thank you.
Tom Walkinshaw, a bad start for a lot of people, but your race has hit problems before it even started. What happened there on the line?
Both drivers didn't keep the revs up high enough in the engine, and the engines died.
Is that just lack of knowledge of the new Cosworth motors?
Yeah, probably. They've never been in the grid before, but it shouldn't have happened.
And you're sending Heinz Harald out now?
Heinz Harald's already out. We're going to put Bernaldi in the T car, and at least we'll learn something for the weekend.
Thanks, Tom. Pat, not the best start for Renault in their return to F1. Jarno, mistake or problem?
Well, very difficult to tell. Jarno said on the radio that he thought something had broken. We'll have to analyse it. And yeah, it's not a great start, but what a difference a year makes, so at least we're racing.
Did Jensen give you any feedback what happened to him?
No, he is back, I think, but I haven't spoken to him yet. There was obviously quite a mix-up there and a lot of damage on the car. we could see that there was no point in carrying on. There was damage to the oil system, the oil radiators, and so it was better to park it.
Pat, bad luck in Malaysia. Thanks. Heinz Harald, not really a very good day. What happened on the grid?
On the grid, well, generally, I think the engines they stopped for a reason. We have to find out why. It just stopped the engine, yeah, and that was it basically for us.
So how did the mistake happen that saw you going out under the red light?
Well, basically, we were stuck behind together, very close, and the guys had to push me. And I couldn't see anymore the lights over there. So, in the last moment, I was told to go, and actually a mistake we have done. Yep.
Very bad luck. Better luck next weekend. Dave Richards, seen Jacques Villeneuve, unfortunately the barrier looks okay, but there was a wing in the middle of the road. Which happened first? Did it fall off or did you knock it off?
Well, you know that as much as we do at the moment. You've got the TV cameras. Jack did come over the radio and said something's broken though, so we can assume that that's what probably happened.
Another team not very happy. Another team not very happy this weekend then?
No, very poor weekend.
Thanks a lot. John Walton, sporting director at Minardi. Problem there, Mark, stop. What was it?
Oh, we're having a little electrical problem, and we needed to switch this pit lane speed limiter off to put the fuel on. And when he flicked it off, it obviously closes the fuel flap. So we were trying to tell him to open the fuel flap again.
Thanks a lot. Alan, a very unfortunately short debut there. How did you see that first corner incident?
Well, I didn't see obviously what triggered it apart from on the replays, but basically it was an accident at the front that sort of concertinaed back, and there's people spinning in every direction. Panis spun, I cut across the grass to avoid it all, and as I came back on, another car came in from the left and broke the front left suspension.
Do you think there should have been a restart?
Well, obviously, from my point of view, it would have been quite good if there had been a restart. I was able to get back, and the T car would have been ready for me. But obviously, I didn't stay down there to see what the actual situation was like with the cars and debris.
On the plus side, it looks like the team could get a point today.
There's a few laps to go, but as ever, at this Grand Prix, if you make it to the finish, you can end up in the points, which to some extent was our strategy. But, you know, it's motor racing, isn't it? It's unfortunate, but it is.
Alan, very hard luck. Better luck in Malaysia. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
Well, you must be bitterly disappointed. What seemed like a rather silly black flag. How did you see it?
Well, I think at that time when I got the black flag, my race was over anyway, so we were on the track just to get some miles, which we didn't so far. But I'm very disappointed about all the way that the start went, that we couldn't even start the race.
Do you know what actually caused both cars to stall?
I don't know, must be a software or I don't know, something just, the car just stalled there and we couldn't get back.
Very bad luck in the fortnight.
Mate, this was Nürburgring 99 to you. Okay.
Paul Stoddard.
The tears will come soon.
You deserve it. Very, very good.
This one's for Ken.
Yeah, let's do that.
Paul Stoddard, many congratulations. A fantastic weekend for you.
Fantastic. There isn't the words. Thanks, guys. Very proud. Fucking fantastic. Fantastic. Thanks, man. Fantastic, just fantastic.
was battling with two Jaguar car, and actually with pedal I really enjoyed. And after the restart, I overtook him into the fast corner. It was very exciting. But after that, it's a big shame. Electric problem caused me couldn't select the gear at all, and I had to run only 6th gear, 7th gear, something like that.
The frustration for us is 7,500 kilometres testing and not a single gearbox problem, and to suffer one in the race is, you know, extremely frustrating. But you can only do your best. Sometimes your best isn't good enough. In that instance, our best wasn't.
Everything was looking good, and then suddenly something happened. Don't know. We have to check the car because at the exit of the corner, suddenly the car slid off, like, you know, where some oil or some water coming out from my car probably. But we don't know yet. We have to check because suddenly it's very difficult. It was an error because it was completely exit of the corner.
It was a great start. A shame that I couldn't make use out of it. I mean, Rubens changed the direction twice too much, and that was the main problem about it. I mean, he was braking a fraction too early, but that is down to his decision when to brake. I don't want to say anything about that, but he simply moved too much, and that's what caused the accident at the end of the day.
You seem to have taken this quite well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's another racing incident. You never, I mean, I'm sure he didn't do it on purpose. He just tried to defend his position without thinking what he was doing. I tried to overtake him. That's it, you know, that's racing.
The first race, the first point for the team, I think it will help a lot for the future to get the guys together. We know we can probably get our act together well if we work on it hard.
It's a good result for the team, really, to score points in the first race. Everybody worked well all weekend. It's, like I said, it's like a first real test day for whole team. So now we know what to do and what to improve in the team and in the car.
Happy boy.
Jackie, I mean, you know how much it means to finish your first Grand Prix, and I just wanted to finish today. And then when I saw the high attrition in the first corner, and I thought, no, this could be one of our days. And then I just tried to look after the car. We lost the diff from the 5 laps into the race, and I tried to nurse it. I was short shifting, wasn't going to the auto up, really looking after it, and I just wanted to get the thing to the checkered flag.
Well, you know, you've got 2 World Championship points. That's more than I got in my first ever World Championship Grand Prix.
Well, it's, if I can go on to get us half as many points as you did, I'll be happy.
Well, you must be one of the most popular men in Australia right now, Mark. So many congratulations from all at Channel 9, and I just hope you continue to have a good time.
Thanks, Jackie.
Okay. Getting used to this?
Jackie, you tell me, does it get any better than this? This to me, as I said to you before, I was there when you cried tears of pride in '99 at the Nürburgring, 1st and 3rd, you and Paul, it was fantastic. Well, I tell you something, to me today, this is my Nürburgring '99.
Well, I make everybody very happy, Paul. You've worked hard for it. You've done it in Australia, in your own country.
We have.
You couldn't have a bigger one than this.
And not only that, you and I know where my inspiration came from. One great man who isn't here at the moment, but I dedicate this to him, and we both know who we're talking about.
Well, to everybody, that's Ken Tyrrell, and of course,
Absolutely.
Paul was a great friend, as I was a great friend, and to get this race dedicated to him, he'll be watching.
He will be, and fantastic. It is just fantastic.
Well, many congratulations. You know that he won more World Championship points than I did. I only got 1 in my first Grand Prix.
You are both very, very great, and still are very, very great in my mind, Jackie.
Great. You explain what happened. How did you come to go right up the back of Rubens?
Well, I mean, it was a great start, so I just was trying to dive into the inside. He closed the door. I was trying to go to the outside. He closed the door again. I was trying to go to the inside. He closed the door and braked at the same time. About the braking, okay, he tried to brake into the first corner. I thought it was a bit early, but it's his decision when to brake. But he definitely changed the road twice too much, and we are only allowed to do it once, so that's the main problem.
Thank God for that runoff.
Yep, I mean, I just got the runoff at the right area. I was pretty lucky.
You know, even if he thinks that I move it too many times, I moved back to left probably a centimeter or so. If he wanted to overtake on the outside, he should have moved a lot further.
One of the Sauber's drivers, I think Eidfeld, come across to me, and he went to the gravel, and the gravel it's wet, and he lost the control of the car. That's stupid, just stupid, because on the first corner of the first start, it's not important to be crazy. And then it's ridiculous because they didn't stop the race. Most of the drivers are here watching the race, and it's just a not real race now.
Giancarlo Fisichella is blaming you for his going off.
Actually, I think I caused an accident, as I said, but the problem was that I saw a couple of cars flying in the front and thought there was a big crash, so I didn't want to hit anybody there and went for the inside. And by doing that, then it was Giancarlo who I crashed in there.
So you were trying to evade the crash up front?
Exactly, I just saw some cars in the air, couldn't see a lot, and thought it would be more safe to go on the inside. And yeah, I didn't know what to do.
Okay, well, Alan, what a start to the career. Eh? Had to wait so long in that first bend.
Yeah, it was obviously, there's an accident right up at the front and it just sort of filtered back. There's a car started spinning in front of me, so I took to the grass to avoid it, and when I came back onto the circuit, someone came in on the left, and that was it. Obviously, it's very frustrating and it's unfortunate, but unfortunately that goes down to motor racing.
Well, there you go. We said it's been a race at first, Ellen. There's a first. A driver, Nick Heidfeld, actually said it was his fault.
Very refreshing. But then he did cover himself a little bit. He said, like, there was cars flying in the air and he had to avoid it. But at the end of the day, he said, well, if I caused it by doing that, well, my hand's up, which is great.
No claim bonus out the window there, too.
No, I think he's all right.
All right,
let's ridiculous.
Let's have a look at Jarno Trulli. Now, this was a very interesting situation. It was coming up in the Renault driver, and he's got Michael Schumacher right up him.
Well, now, this is extraordinary because a modern Formula One car is virtually controlled electronically. I can only assume that his traction control or diff malfunctioned slightly, because he shouldn't lose the back of the car at that point. I mean, even if he didn't have traction control or an adjustable diff situation, you should really be able to drive out. You should be able to A, feel the car breaking away and then correct it. So it's one of those situations where A, you don't expect the car to break away, so you flat chat, and then when it does break away, it happens so unexpectedly, he loses it like that.
Is it a situation there as well where Schumacher, as I said, for about a lap and a half had been right on him, and they'd had a pretty hard duel? As we heard Michael Schumacher said, he probably should have let him through it a couple of times, and suddenly he's thinking about the next line rather than actually getting out of the corner.
Well, possibly, but it's just very unusual for it to happen at that time.
Well, David Coulthard was the man who looked like he'd won the lottery after the initial crash, because he found himself way out in front, and we had the safety car out, and I don't know what happened from here, Alan, but it was the start of what ended up being a horror day for the Scot.
Well, once again, I think it's electronics raising its ugly head. David goes in there, unfortunately we just missed it, but I mean, he just looked like he drove completely off. I mean, going in too hot, maybe. The tyres do cool down considerably when you're behind the pace car. They were behind the pace car for quite a long time. Maybe he's just gone in there a little bit too hot. All these cars have a tendency to understeer anyway, modern Formula One cars. Maybe didn't have quite enough temperature on the front tyres. He's gone in there a bit hot and just understeered off.
Well, the McLaren driver, David Coulthard, the Scot, spoke to Nine's Widewater Sports about just what happened.
First of all, the carnage at the very first corner, how did you avoid that?
Well, I'm not sure, to be honest, but I obviously looked pretty spectacular from where I was sitting with Ralph going over the back of Rubens. I was a little bit surprised that that happened, because it seemed so early before the corner, but nonetheless, obviously happy that Rubens was okay, Ralph was okay, because obviously I saw his car go high. And then things were looking reasonably good in terms of position for me. Obviously, I had developed a down selection problem, which caught me out just before the restart, and I ran wide, and then it ran smooth for a few laps, and then had another problem, and then it eventually jammed in sixth gear.
It was disappointing, because it seemed after the carnage in the first corner it was your race almost for the taking.
Yeah, it certainly would have been interesting to see what pace we could have run with Michael, but I really, once I developed that early glitch in the gearbox, I knew I was in trouble.
Some work there for the engineers at McLaren. Well, once we got through all the carnage and the fireworks, there was actually some brilliance out there for a few moments. A great dice there between Schumacher and Montoya as well, Alan.
I think we saw a fantastic overtaking manoeuvre by Montoya. To my mind, it's right up there with the movie made on Schumacher in Brazil. I mean, to go down the outside like that and leave the braking as late and then cut across his bows, fantastic move. Really committed move.
And then, of course, we saw Michael make a comeback as well.
Well, see, once again, that was an excellent move on Michael's part. I mean, one just went into the corner, was trying to take a more defensive line going in, kept the car inside, scrubbed off a little bit of speed, lost it on the exit. Michael kept it back, cut back on him, and then had the run on him through the corner.
Is that something Montoya has to do now? He's been brilliant in every sort of race that he's ever been in once he gets to Formula One, but up against a Schumacher, he might take one punch to the nose, but he's always going to come back.
Oh, there's no question about it. That's the makeup of the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, this really is a very quick moving game of chess. And it's all just about thinking, and grabbing a situation when it presents itself. And that's where Michael Schumacher is the master.
All right, well, we mentioned a bit earlier as well that Mark Webber burnt some 22 seconds in a pit stop that lasted 34.9 seconds. And when it came down to the last 2 laps, every second counted for Mark Webber to be able to hang on to the 2 points. And there he is. He has the Toyota right behind him of Salo. And I think the whole of Australia went up when Salo went round and round.
Pretty basic mistake that Salo made, you know, considering that there was just a lap or so to go in that far over to the left, off the racing line, where all the marbles are, and that's all the bits of rubber that comes off the tyre during the course of a Grand Prix, becomes very, very slippery. To allow himself to go that far out offline, and you can see the back of the car just loses traction. It's as simple as that. That's a very basic mistake.
Well, Mika Salo in the Toyota. Good news was the Toyota in their first Formula One race have picked up 1 point, which is a fantastic effort, and they certainly have had a pretty good weekend here at Albert Park. Let's go down to Nick Harris now, speaking to Mika Salo.
You must have your heart in your mouth, Mika, when you just spun chasing Webber.
Yeah, they told me that I was 26 seconds behind him at the beginning. I had to push like hell to catch him, and I just caught him for last lap, and I had to have a go at him as soon as I get behind him, and there was some oil from the previous accidents on that corner, and I just lost it, and that's it.
What a day for the team, though.
Oh, it's great. Great result from the first race. It's couldn't be better.
Well, for all those who didn't get into that crash at the first corner, Ellen, it was a fantastic day. We're going to take a break. We're going to reload and come back and wrap up what has been a sensational Foster's 2002 Australian Formula One Grand Prix. And, of course, as always, you've been watching the action on Nine's Wide World of Sports.
Yesterday's Grand Prix will open doors to greater riches, according to Australia's latest Formula One world champion, and that was a long time ago. Alan Jones says Webber's point-scoring effort with lowly Minardi will enhance his reputation and could lead to a drive in a more competitive car.
Some sore heads this morning packing up the Minardi garage after a team party that lasted well into the early hours. Mark Webber lapping up the attention after a Sunday drive he'll never forget.
The roll-down lap was just, you know, you can see it in their eyes. They were just, you know, it was just absolutely going ballistic. It was great.
The 25-year-old's 5th place, catapulting his name onto the world stage in a race that had everything.
Second place, and he hits Ruben Barrichello. Huge accident. Oh my goodness.
Phenomenal, you know, just it was just a dream. I mean, it was something which, you know, you can't really put it into words. I mean, it was in Australia. I mean, to get 5th place in Budapest would be a phenomenal race for us, but to get it in Melbourne, it's amazing.
And although his point-scoring debut with the Aussie-owned Minardi team was a dream come true, his future won't be with the fledgling backmarkers.
At the end of the day, he's elevated himself now that much higher in their eyes that they'll now maybe be taking a bit more notice of him in the future races.
I'm going to continue to do the best I can with Minardi and get as much experience as I can.
Despite racing for Minardi, Webber is still under contract to tycoon Flavio Briatore, who owns the powerful Renault team. It presents the Aussie his best chance of having a shot at winning GPs, especially if current driver Jarno Trulli continues making a meal of things.
Oh, and he's lost it. Trulli's lost it on the exit.
I don't know, I'd go as far as say it was nice if he keeps sticking it in the wall, but let's just say we don't wish him all that much success.
World champion Michael Schumacher today making just as quick a getaway from his hotel as he did on the racetrack.